Buckle up, everybody. It's episode 69 of the About to Break podcast, and this is part 2 of my conversation with my buddy, Chipper Lowell. Guys, I was doing the edit. I was listening to this. You know, I was there when we had the conversation, obviously, but listening back to it, I cannot believe the amount of wisdom that Chipper shared in this, and I can't believe that we're putting this out for free. It's a free podcast. This is way too good. No, honestly, I'm so grateful that we got this podcast recorded, and I can't wait to share it with you. Big thank you to the producers. Reason this show is free is because we want it to be accessible to everybody. And we have a group of individuals called the producers. These are ordinary folks like you and I who love this show and want to make sure it stays free. And so they give. We've got people who give every month. Some give $1, some give $20, some give $50 a month. And it offsets the cost and the time of producing these shows. So thank you to all the producers. Also want to give a couple shout outs. I want to give a shout out to Cat Beach Music. They continue to provide great music for the podcast. So when you hear those tunes as you're coming in and out of the intros and all of that, that's our friends Bobby and Jen Hartree at Cat Beach Music. Look, if you're a producer, if you're looking for music for your next television show, or you're looking for just the perfect vibe for that project that you've got that needs the right tunes behind it, check out our friends at catbeachmusic.com. They curate and create some of the best tunes around, and I'm so grateful that they're a partner here on the podcast. And again, speaking of sound, as a performer, I get asked this question all the time by other entertainers when they see the show. They say, who is controlling your music? And my top secret weapon is Audio Ape. It means I can control my music. We've all been there before. You practice and you rehearse and you have this piece that you're so excited to share, and then you get to the gig and the sound guy screws it up. And it's not his fault. Maybe he had a bad day. Maybe something was going on at home. Maybe he spilled his coffee on his pants right at the moment that you needed him to hit the cue. The truth is, there's all kinds of excuses, but during a show, you need to make sure you have your sound. So I would encourage you guys to go check out Audio Ape. It's the best investment I've made in my show, and I got them to give us a promo code so that you can get a free case when you order, and you can go check that out. Go to abouttobreakpodcast.com/control. Again, it's abouttobreakpodcast/control, and you can see what our friends at Audio Ape have to offer. Something I am very excited about is I've got a few live shows coming up. If you're listening to this the day that it comes out, that would be Wednesday, April 18th. I'll be performing tonight at Scott Neary's Booby Trap. I'll also be there next Wednesday night on the 25th, working out some new material and excited to come out to Booby Trap. So come say hey. Tickets for that are available in the link on my website. In fact, I got a little bit of space on the guest list there for both of those. So if you'd like to come out to that, let me know. Also, April 24th is our next About to Break show, and I'm so excited. You heard us talk about it last week. This idea of what if we did a new material show? You know, the idea of we're always working on new material, and sometimes we get nervous about putting it into like a big corporate event or a theater show or like a paying gig. So what do? I'll tell you what we do. We just put a show on for that. We're calling it the Low Bar Variety Hour. It's next Tuesday, April 24th, 7 p.m. It's a free show. I'll be hosting that show at the Clubhouse in LA, and it's going to feature Chipper Lowell. That's right. It's also going to feature Morgan J. It's also going to feature the new bad boys of Magic, and my buddy Eddie Firth doing comedy, and Nick Paul and David Stryker. Guys, this is a killer show. I can't believe it's free. Again, why is it free? Oh, because we love everybody? It's because we love you guys. You can get more info on that and all my other dates on my website, taylorhughes.com/live. Other stuff coming up, May 16th, I'll be in Atlanta in the ATL. Performing at Smith's Old Bar. And then June 4th, just booked this, I'll be performing at Wizards Theater in Orlando. It's a great show. I've heard from so many people. I can't wait to go check it out and actually get to perform at it. So if you're in the Orlando area, come check that out. But right now, guys, we got to get into this podcast. We pick up where we left off. So if you haven't listened to last week's episode, part 1 with Chipper Lowell, you're going to want to check that out first. But you know what? Even if you're feeling a little daring, you can start right here. Part 2, we pick it up talking about Chipper growing up in the circus. And also his love for Gilmore Girls. We get into it right now. Sit back, relax, and enjoy episode 69 of the About to Break podcast, part 2 of my conversation with the incredible Chipper Lowell.
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
Something is about to break.
Hey everybody, welcome back. I know it's been a week. It's been a week to you. It's been a really good lunch for Chipper and I.
A very hearty lunch at a fantastic place. It was really nice.
We did.
Thanks,
we went to
man.
Molly's Super.
Yes.
Thank you, man.
Super as in S-O-U-P-E-R.
Yes. Very much, I tell Katie, it's like Gilmore Girls there. Don't you feel like you're at
Oh
Gilmore,
my gosh,
like
yes.
in Stars Hollow with
That's why I liked it.
the gang?
I am an avid, I make no apologies to this.
Yeah.
I am a huge avid Gilmore Girls fan.
Oh,
My
Katie
wife
doesn't
got
know
me-
that.
my
She's
wife-
going to lose her mind when she hears it.
My wife was hooked on it, and that thing where you walk in and she's
You're like,
watching
wait.
an episode on
And she's
on-demand.
already like 20 minutes in, so you have to sit.
She's
till
already,
it's over.
she's watching it from like season 3 or 4.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm like, what is this crap? And I sat down and went, oh, crap. And then Lisa's like, it's not crap. I went, no, it's crap that I'm now going to have to watch all of them because
know,
the
right?
writing is
It's
fantastic.
so good.
It is so, and it reminds me back to the days when people would write screwball comedies.
Yeah.
Because I'm a huge fan of films and
Yeah.
things. But back in the day where the banter was very clickety click,
Yeah.
if you look at their scripts are anywhere from 5 to 10 pages longer than a normal script because
Right.
the pacing is so fast paced, just like
Yes.
bap. No time for anything. No time for even to get the laugh in. If you missed it, you're going to have to rewind kind of deal.
Oh my gosh.
And I love that. Very witty Dorothy Parker,
Yeah.
Algonquin Round Table
yeah.
stuff, which some people understand my references.
I know. I am in a battle. Not a battle. I shouldn't even say this. They don't listen to the podcast. Katie's grandfather, her mom's dad, was
Yeah.
a child actor.
Okay.
Those are his reels that you warned me might implode.
I was worried about it.
We've
yes.
tested them. We're okay.
Again, for anyone that doesn't know,
Yeah.
inside your station here,
Yeah, my station.
your amazing broadcast place, there were old film reels that you had made into a cool plaque that was up on the wall. And when you showed a video online of you building this thing and putting it all together, I wrote you and said, hey, listen, just a heads up. Those things are extremely flammable. And thankfully, those ones were already treated. And all good.
They got these ones on safety tape.
Yeah.
But yes.
many a movie theater throughout history and vaudeville houses, when they would show movies and then do the vaudeville and then back to movies, those ones burnt down for that very reason because stuff was so freaking flammable.
Oh man, yeah, I was panicking. I immediately took them down and moved them to safety, and then
Until
did
you
my
got the-
research and found out that we're okay. But yes, that is a scary thing. So this same grandfather who was a child actor, and they lived right next to the Max Sennett Studios.
Oh yeah.
And so he had 9 brothers and sisters. His dad was a wire worker for like The Thief of Baghdad and all those movies back in the day.
That's cool.
And so they would just come over and the director would be like, hey, Delmar, we need 3 kids. And he'd hand over 3 of his kids and they'd go work in the movies for the day. My mother-in-law just found last week his original script from the 30s when he was in Barbershop with W.C. Fields.
Oh my god.
With all the handwritten notes in it. And I'm like, Priscilla, look, nobody in the family will appreciate this as much as me.
Or Taylor's good friend Chipper.
Or good friend Chipper. But yeah, no, it made me think of it because I was reading through the script and then watching the show and everything was so quick.
Oh yeah.
W.C. Fields is very,
Uh,
man, can't get away.
he had so many asides and speaking Sotto, S-O-T-T-O, under his breath, where if you really listen to him, it was hysterical lines he was just throwing
Just
away.
throwing away.
Just for the fun for those that happened to catch him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was brilliant.
It's so good.
Yeah. And he was actually a really good actor. It would have been amazing. I always think about that with certain people, like, where would they have been if they had been born in this particular time period?
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
What roles would they have done?
Right.
What wouldn't have worked for them? Very bizarre. But
That's interesting.
I always ponder about stuff like that. I jump all over the place when it comes to time. It fascinates me. It really does.
Time itself,
time itself, the dynamics of time, how we perceive time.
Right.
There's a little bit of scientist in me, but there's also a bit of how do we as humans look at time when something's really fun? Like for instance, the first time that we did the podcast last week, which was just a couple hours ago.
I remember that. That was a good time.
It was a good time, but it felt like 45 minutes went by and it was an hour 40 or something.
Yeah.
Then that's the thing. Something that's really horrible, it drags on forever.
Hopefully not
school,
this episode.
Yeah. That thing. You'd be in school and everyone's watching the clock, and the classes you hated, that clock you swore was ticking slower and slower than any other time.
And then the ones you loved would just fly by.
Yeah, and it felt like recess was 5 minutes at the most.
Katie and I both have been talking about lately. It seems like months are flying by. Like it seemed before
that's called age.
Oh my goodness! It seemed before like weeks would go by. Like, oh, there's another week, and now it's literally like I can't believe we're in the middle of April. Like I can't believe that.
Right.
This much of this year is gone.
And also because you've got kids and we have a kid.
Right.
And our son is 17, and we can swear on a Bible that he's only been around for about 8 years. Seven years, crazy. Maybe 8 years max.
Yeah,
because it flies.
And that's the kind of the cliche thing that people will tell you, like, "Oh, careful, they grow up quick." And I was like, "Yeah." And now my oldest is 12, which is nuts. Like I just can't believe it.
There's a reason why cliches are cliches, because they came from something actually real.
Chipper and I had a very philosophical conversation over lunch, and we're not going to talk about any of it, but that explains why we're like, time is crazy, right? I want to get into this.
I think this is great. We should have a podcast about what we're not going to talk about.
Yeah. I had a friend on the other day, a comedian, and we kept doing the thing that you and I were doing at lunch about, like, should we save this for the podcast? Like, there's nothing
and I worried about it.
There's nothing more LA than us going like, maybe we should save this for the podcast.
Yeah. Don't you feel like this is more of a couch piece? For the Tonight Show?
This is more of like a panel.
Yeah, I believe that. It is weird how we think about those.
It is. So, well, it's also weird too for folks who aren't in entertainment that don't realize that when you see an actor just ad-libbing with Jimmy Fallon, that entire 7 minutes is scripted out, and these are the talking pieces, and
and it is, and the reason is you got so much at stake. I mean, you've got advertisers spending millions of dollars, hoping that they attract millions of viewers,
right?
And everything is I cannot express how important,
right,
every 5 seconds is, because they can literally track it. They will quite literally say,
like, "This is when we lost
I
him.
know you had fun with this guy on your show, but he didn't track well.
Yep.
So we're not going to do it." Now, if you have people that in power, they'll say, "I don't care. I'm just going to bring on who I want."
Which is why, Chipper, I purposely want this podcast to make no money, so we can talk about whatever we want.
Good. Let's go back to junking Spirit Airlines.
There we go. Right. I know. They were like, well, we were going to sponsor the podcast. I want to talk in this episode because with the entire last episode, we didn't really get to the Chipper story. Shared a lot of great things about the business, which I want to get into more of that. But I do want to, for people who don't know, you have been in entertainment pretty much your entire life, right?
Day one.
Can we talk a little bit about
I will go
little
quickly
Chipper
through it, because since I've experienced it, I don't really like to talk about it that much. No, but I get it, because then people, say, what's the background? Okay, so in a nutshell, I'll try to make it really fast.
You don't like talking about it.
It's not about not liking to talk. It's just that I've talked about it so much.
You want to talk about other things,
but I totally get it. I am a second generation performer. My dad was a performer. My mom was a performer. Long story short, my dad was an actor in New York, and he wasn't making any money. And a friend of his said, I got a job as a clown on a circus, and we need another clown. Do you want to come do it? And my dad's like, I've never been a clown. Yeah. And the guy said, you don't need to know anything. Come on. And so he went, and he quickly learned how to be a clown, and was like thrown into it head first. So suddenly it's like, I better learn how to put on makeup and find a costume and find a unique looking character.
That's a big thing in the world of
so
clowning,
he did that for a season. They do it so great that he was hired back for the next season. And then the next season, I'm not sure if it was season 3 or 4, that he had a contract about to go out again on the road. Yeah. Now, this is going to sound bizarre. He goes to a cobbler, a shoe cobbler in New York to pick up his clown shoes because they needed to be refit with a new sole on them, right? Big giant clown shoes. It sounds like a weird thing, but it's all real.
Yeah.
As he's leaving, a gentleman in a little hat and a cane is sitting off to the side. And he says, who was that guy that just left? He asked the cobbler, who's that guy?
Yeah.
And the cobbler says, oh, that's Chuck. You know, he's a clown. He's been touring. He's going back on the road. And he says, well, call him and have him contact us. So the cobbler calls my dad and says, the guy from Ringling Brothers called.
No.
And my dad's like, yeah, you're joking. And, you know, and we're talking, this is back in the 50s.
Oh, yeah.
And it turns out that this was like one of the top guys who they happened to need more clowns. He happened to be in the cobbler's shop as this happened.
Oh, my goodness.
And this is where opportunity, we all have these, though. We all have these stories where, you know, just something lines up in fate. Yeah. If you're prepared, you know, kind of deal.
Yeah.
So my dad gets a call from the cobbler and says, and my dad thinks the cobbler's joking and then finds out he's not, makes a phone call and they say, yeah, you know, come on down. I don't know if it was like Madison Square Garden or what, the big arena.
Yeah.
And my dad goes, okay. So my dad goes down and during the day, and there's a bunch of clowns in the center ring. The place is closed, but there's a bunch of people in the arena. And they're working on clown sketches, clown bits that they're going to be doing. Yeah. And my dad's sitting up in the stands for the longest time. And finally, this one guy turns around from down below and he looks up and goes, hey, are you Chuck? Yeah. Well, get the fuck down here. And my dad's like, what?
Like, oh, okay.
And he thought he was there to audition.
Okay.
He already had the job.
What?
And they were pissed that he wasn't helping out, you know, kind of thing. So he's down there like going, I guess I'm got this job.
I'm the
and
guy.
So then
these are like people's SNL stories where they're like, "What?
Totally.
All of a sudden, I'm on the show."
Yeah, Lorne Michaels, by the way, will never say to you, "You have the job, you don't have the job."
And he'll just be like, "Well, I think you'll like living in New York."
Yeah, but he won't even say that. Yeah, he doesn't let you. He doesn't let you know. He doesn't want to have that moment. Yeah, with that. And this is the same thing.
It's crazy.
Suddenly, my dad finds out that he's touring with Ringling. Wow. And he was with Ringling for 7 years, and my mom was with it for the last 4 of those years as a dancer and aerialist. And they met and got married, and then they got off the road. They had me. 2 weeks later, we're back on the road with other circuses and arena shows. And later on, Disney on Parade, which is another big arena-style show that toured. And we toured all over the United States and all throughout Canada and Mexico and Australia and New Zealand.
And this is just normal for you growing up.
For me, it's
like,
normal. I assumed every kid went through this.
Just every kid goes on the circus.
And a couple of years, they buy a house in Southern California. And we have an aerial rigging in our backyard.
Aerial rigging in your backyard.
We had an aerial rigging in our backyard because my mom would use that to practice her, not really trapeze, but there's a thing called Spanish web. Okay. Which is a long, thick rope that you're kind of spinning around up in the air 3 to 4 stories up. Yeah. It's got a little loop up in the top that you put your hand through to hold onto. And then some other different types of aerial. And she also did what's called iron jaw, where she hung by her teeth. And she did hair hang, where you literally gather all the hair up and you're distributing the weight. Yes. And she did that as well.
I just saw that live for the first time a couple weeks ago at Scott Neary's show, at a Booty Trip show. Yeah. And I was like, what is happening?
Oh, yeah.
It was amazing.
It's crazy. As a matter of fact, Jonathan Goodwin. Yeah. You know, who's traveling with the Illusionist. A good guy. I had given him information about the Iron Jaw, sending him pictures of the actual, rigging and stuff that my mom would use. Oh, and now he's doing it in the show as one of his death-defying stunts, which is kind of cool. But I thought it was normal. And we had an A-frame rigging in the backyard. New neighbors moved in next to us. And they called the police one day because they thought that this woman was committing suicide, trying to hang herself, which was just my mom hoisting herself up to strengthen her neck and shoulder muscles in iron jaw. Because, you know, your neck and your shoulders are holding the rest of the weight of your body up, you know. Wow. As you do that. So that became a fun thing to meet the neighbors. And, you know, we were a bit of the Addams family of the neighborhood.
What city was this in?
This is in Anaheim.
Okay.
In Anaheim, yeah. My father, when we finally did get off the road, and even before that, my dad had worked as an entertainment director at Disneyland.
Yeah.
In later years, he wound up being at Knott's Berry Farm for over 20 years as one of the entertainment directors.
Oh, wow.
There. Also worked at Caltech Pasadena at the theater there. Also worked Anaheim Convention Center.
Wow.
All over the place. But his last bit of being on stage was as a clown in the circuses. And then at one point he shaved and brought my brother and I into this tiny little bathroom in the trailer.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of jumping all around the place here.
That's good.
And he said, "Kids, this is the last time I'm shaving my upper lip. I'm growing a mustache." And we're like, "Oh, we don't care. Whatever. That's fine."
That was symbolic for him, though?
But it was symbolic because he could no longer, be a clown with a mustache,
wow.
So it was his last day of clowning, last day of performing, and he got into doing more of the manager side. He managed shows, circuses, and then later planned special events and entertainment for places like Disney and Knott's and Anaheim Stadium, and other things like that. But he was never. I don't think he really enjoyed the performing aspect of it as much. I think for him, maybe it was more of a job. I think he felt less pressure not being on stage.
Okay.
I don't know exactly. Yeah. I'll have to ask him.
So you got to see both perspectives growing up of like the business side of it, and
I was really lucky that way.
Yeah,
I got to see the business side. I got to see the artistic side. I got to see the meat and potato side.
Yeah.
Circus acts were very much like, this is our act. It was learned from generation upon generation upon generation. This is what we do.
Yeah,
and I never enjoyed the fact that behind the scenes, all we would talk about was circus. And I wanted to talk about other things. So once we got off the road with circuses, I was actually sad at first because that's all I knew, and then grateful beyond grateful because it opened up the rest of the world for me.
Yeah.
And for me, I kept looking at it like, there's got to be more to this. And that then led my pursuit into doing other things.
See, that's interesting because I think when you hear stories of like generations who did one thing, and then the next generation wants to do the exact opposite.
Oh, yeah.
How did that go for you? Because I mean, especially if like some of that stuff you weren't so fond of, but then you ended up becoming a performer yourself.
When I finally, again, kind of backtracking.
Yeah.
I went on the road. I took correspondence school. Yep. So I was, the only class was me and books from a correspondence school out of Baltimore, Maryland, called Calvert. And it was the same schooling that the children of dignitaries and ambassadors and politicians and overseas, if you're going somewhere else, you're getting the equivalent of a U.S. education.
Okay.
Because I was always on the road.
Right.
So that's the only way I did it. And so when I got put into a regular public school, I could have advanced like 2 to 3 years. And instead I was like, no, I want to be in the same grade. I don't want to be.
You want to have the experience of.
I want to have the experience. Yeah. And that was traumatic. Because I had grown up with adults traveling, and now there's
only
a school.
Adults.
Well,
pretty much. I mean,
if there were kids on the show,
it
was really rare for them to be my age. They were anywhere from 5 to 10 years older, younger.
Got it. Yeah.
Now I'll tell you who my best friend was. Is a childhood kid, Bello Knock. Bello is the clown that was the famous clown on Ringling with the hair that went straight up.
Oh, yeah.
For years and still tours and stuff.
Oh, wow.
And he and I at age 7, 8, 9, 10 were just best buddies. And so that's kind of fun. Every so often we see each other. But again, we're both traveling. So I went to a regular high school where 800 of the kids, 400 of them were girls.
Yeah.
Suddenly I things I never knew about. Popularity, a pecking order, social quirks and cliques and things. I didn't understand any of that. And to me, it was like, this is bizarre because I'm just used to like working. Yeah. Like a real gig. This is so trivial.
Yeah.
And so I never took it really serious. I did well in school, but I was, even in my senior and college years, on Friday, Saturday, I was either driving or flying out to do the shows.
Wow.
So from there, my first gig was as an assistant to someone we both know and love, Mark Kalin.
Yes, I've seen the photos.
And
they're glorious.
They're glorious.
There's so much Lycra in those photos.
Spandex, Lycra. Yeah. It's Earth, Wind, and Fire throwing up on an illusion show. And it's hilarious.
Oh,
and
it's so
it was
good.
the best. It was really the best of times. And I carried a notebook with me where I wrote down all the little things I learned from it.
So that was your first gig outside of the circus was.
Well, I was already doing magic.
Okay.
At age 14, I was doing magic shows for churches and things in the area and birthday parties where my mom would drive me there and take care of the bunny until it was time to put the bunny in the box to get the show going.
Yeah.
I was Mark Kalin's first assistant, along with his girlfriend and another girl assistant to do the illusions. And it was Mark's first time doing illusions.
Wow.
Because he had been doing
like the pool act, right?
He did the parlor pool act.
Yep.
He won all these awards, and then he got jaded and just went, okay, I hate magic.
Wow.
Which we all kind of do.
Yeah.
And, at a certain point, you just go, okay, I've been there, done it.
Yeah.
And, I got the T-shirt. Now what?
Yeah.
And then he waited for a couple of years and said, you know what? If I go back to it, I really think I'd like to do illusions.
Wow.
And so he was learning to be an illusionist at the same time that I was learning what it was like to be in, this group of people to put on a show.
Yeah.
And we had great experiences. I mean, fantastic.
Were you guys at a specific location, or were you trooping this different places? Or
at first, we actually did a run at Knott's Berry Farm.
Cool.
No connection to my dad at all. Just happened to be there. And the very first show we did, no, actually, it was not the first one. The first show we did was a press. Junket type thing. So the entire press was there for the show. Yeah. It was the beginning of a summer run.
Okay.
And I was dressed in one of the illusions. I'm dressed as a monster, like a werewolf type creature with a robe, which later on Mark and I would exchange places during the illusion. Yeah. And I stepped off the front of the stage to say, rawr to the audience. There's steps coming down, but in this mask, I couldn't see where the steps were. So when I stepped down, I thought, oh, I'm right over the center of these steps. So my first step was correct. The second step was into thin air, and I flipped, fell on my back. And this is opening night press, and I'm like, oh crap! And so I just laid there, and I thought, oh, I got to make this look like a bit, because I'm in pain right now. And I waited until the front row stood up to come over to me to help me. Yeah. And the second they got close to me, I jumped up and went, "Rawr!" And then they all screamed, laughed, sat back in their seats. So they thought it was part of the show. So then I run up the steps and I say to Mark as we're doing the switch, I'm like, limp on your left leg, to kind of match me. Yeah. It was stuff like that, those things you only will know by doing the show. And doing it and being in the moment. Yeah. We had another illusion, which is kind of the famous story where the girl's in the illusion and a second girl is in there to hand close out the side as if the first girl,
like the stripper illusion.
And we had a malfunction where the curtain came down and the audience saw what looked, well, it just looked like a sex act, in this tall contraption. And the two girls in it were laughing and stuff, but the audience, was like looking shocked. And it's a family audience. And I'm like, oh no, oh my God. Because one of the girls was topless thinking she would never be seen because the curtain's up during this. So now here she is naked. Everyone's watching. And I'm like, we were all convinced we're going to be fired.
And there's kids in the audience going, I love you, Knott's Berry Farm.
Well, that's the thing. We were thinking like we're going to get letters. We're going to get, there was nothing. If anything, there were compliment letters that came in saying, that show is fantastic. And we're like, oh, we're home free. And so anyway, I stayed with them. We then took the show to Reno. We were part of an ice skating show in Reno where during the number with us in the middle between ice skating numbers, a giant AstroTurf carpet would come down, cover the ice. We would do our bits. It would go back up in the air. Yeah. And then I said, great. I said, Mark, I'm leaving now. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I said, well, I'm done. I've learned everything I can from this. I'm going back to college. And thanks so much. So I trained the new guy. Yeah. And he took over and I went back to study theater arts and television production and stuff. And then from there was flying out doing shows and corporates or staying in town and doing them, but going to school, Monday through Thursday and did that. And then from there, 2 years later, I was in a review show with my own act in Atlantic City, and Mark and his assistant were doing their own act in the same show.
Oh, wow.
But now we're equals because we both have acts.
Oh, that's wild.
And yeah, it was great. I mean, the experience was absolutely invaluable.
Did anything from that first act survive? Like, is there anything that
there's only one thing that survived, and that's the cigar box, my signature cigar box thing. And that stayed in there. That stayed in there only because I think that's the only thing that from that time period, Okay. I think.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think back. No, everything else came later. All the other, signature pieces and stuff. But that's the only one now that I didn't think about it myself, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one.
I'm trying to picture what Chipper's early act looked like.
Oh, horrible. Horrible.
Did you do the move that a lot of us do where you emulate the guy you really like, or were you just
I didn't.
Okay.
And the reason was that the people that I looked up to was Victor Borge.
Oh, Victor
Borge, a fantastic classical pianist and hilarious comedian. And his career is what I liked.
Yeah.
I always wanted to work theaters.
Yeah.
And the way that he worked a theater and worked a room for me was golden. So that's what I wanted out of my magic, comedy and stuff was that. Bill Irwin.
Yep.
Who was an incredible clown, comedian, actor, and his sense of theater that he brought to his bits, I really liked.
Yeah.
But really not many people from actual magic.
Yeah.
Itself. I felt that most of the comedy magic acts that I saw as a youngster.
Yeah.
I thought were awful.
Yeah,
I really did.
You've heard Patton Oswald's bit?
Oh, yes. Yeah. And it's not awful in the sense of like bad. It's just that it didn't fit me because I really I was trying to be more honest on stage.
Yeah.
In the sense of I didn't want to have an act where you put on the jacket, you go do the act, you're done. I didn't want a Vegas style act. I didn't want a circus style act.
Yep.
I wanted one that would continue to grow and evolve as I grew and evolved. That was just, I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I felt like if you watch Victor Borge, and the same with like Billy McComb back in the day, when Billy was 30, he did his act at age 30. When he was 50, he didn't do his act at age 30.
That's true.
When he was 80, he literally was like, this is the guy I am.
Grew with the act.
And that's why when he started performing in his 70s, 80s, and in, beyond the 80s, he was making jokes pertaining to that point in his life. Like, I gotta hurry this show up tonight is, Jello night over the old folks home, and stuff. He was relating to who he was. And I loved that. I love that about him. By the end of his act, you knew about him.
Yes. Yeah.
And,
which I think is a thought that most performers, or at least in magic, they don't latch on to.
A lot of comedians do the same though.
Yeah.
Comedians will come up, they go, oh, this is funny. And at the end, I can look at them and say, I'm going to tell you something you're going to probably hate, but you just performed for a half hour and I know nothing about you.
Yes.
And truthfully, it's extremely rare for those performers to move forward.
Yeah.
If anything, the ones we remember have brought something of themselves out there.
Yes.
And again, not only your own opinion, but your own life issues and things.
Right.
Which then everyone can relate to. But, if you're someone that writes one-liners,
right,
you go, the only one that is an example of this opposite would be that we know Stephen Wright is fantastic at writing one-liners.
Yes.
However, if you look at what he's writing, you are looking at how he thinks.
How he sees the world.
So that really is telling you a lot about him, even though it's not,
some of their famous one-liners, they're funny, but their stuff is so obscure. You can't picture a human thinking about these things.
Right. And so that is nothing but Stephen Wright, and that's glorious. And Victor Borge did the same thing. He talks about himself where he's at in his career. And as he got older, he talked about himself being older.
So
and it's great. It's human condition.
When I was in 8th grade, my grades were slipping significantly. And my mom said, "What do you want? I'll get you something if you bring your grades up." And I asked for the Victor Borga VHS series.
Oh my gosh.
And so that's how I got my grades up, so I could get those VHS set that they sold on PBS or whatever. Victor Borga.
See, and here's the thing. That story tells, if I hadn't met you, that story right there told me so much about you.
Yeah.
You know, and you're only going to have your own experiences. That's the other thing when we talk about being original.
Yeah.
You know, I'm only going to be able to be the guy that had a background growing up in circus.
Right.
And saw this and traveled the world and did this.
Right.
Why would I want to be anybody else but
so
that?
Good. That's so good, Chipper.
Because I'm going to suck at being something else other than that.
It's from watching you perform and a handful of other people that challenged me to really go, I need to put myself in my show. Because a couple years ago, literally like 2 years ago, I looked at my show and I went, it's a funny show. I'm not in it.
Yeah.
You know,
But thank God you had that insight to realize that.
Oh my gosh. Well, and saw the examples of what you do. Because I one day I sat down and I was like, okay, what do I want people to think? And it started off as I want people, after they see my show, to go, I'd like to have a beer with that guy. And then when it got really good is when I said, I want to walk off stage and have people feel like we've already had a beer.
Yeah.
I want them to feel like they know me and I know them.
Absolutely. And my rule of thumb is I want them to invite me out for dinner or want to buy me a drink because they feel they know me. They feel that I'm approachable.
Yeah.
The other aspect is I want the show that takes place, that performance in particular, to be at least the perception of being so unique that they feel they saw something so special that it won't happen yesterday, won't happen the next day.
Yes.
And it's what I call the water cooler talk. And the water cooler talk is that they see the show on the weekend, Monday morning, they've gone to their jobs, they go to the water cooler. What'd you do over the weekend? Oh my gosh. And this is my hope, right? This is not me being with an ego. This is me as a hope.
Right.
I want them to be able to say, oh my gosh, we saw this comedian guy and it was so funny. But let me tell you, the show we saw, ... Yeah. And there they explain, you know, this guy got up this couple that hated each other. And I mean, he just ran with it and it was hilarious. Or this guy got up a lawyer and it had to do, you know, you want those moments that the audience feels they only got to, by chance, see that show, that performance at that time to experience that experience.
Right.
And anything else is going to be mundane and ordinary. It's live theater. How cool to have something actually in the moment live happen where you say, you know, where you don't go, oh, I bet that happens every night.
How many friends have you had that say, oh, we were just on a cruise. I wonder if you know the guy.
Yeah.
And who's the guy? I don't know, but he did this, this, and this, and they list all the 5 tricks that every magician does.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they'll list the tricks, and then the good ones are the ones where they describe the person.
Yeah. Yep.
They go, oh my gosh, he's fantastic. He does this. He's got this kind of sort of laugh. He has this kind of, you know, and then you go, oh yeah, that's so-and-so.
Right.
And they don't describe the tricks.
Yeah. And not only is that better for the audience and better for you, but it's also what gets a booker to go, they don't go, we need a magician or we need a comic. They go, we want to have Chipper for this event. He's going to
let's go into that.
Let's do it.
Okay. Here's another pet peeve of mine. You know, on Facebook, you have all the variety acts, and I'm not just talking about magicians, but you have everybody. Everybody. And not only just corporate, but you also have birthday party, school shows, library shows, you name it.
Yep.
And they go, oh, someone was lowballing, someone was price gouging, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And they say, you know, oh, this guy's coming in, he's doing birthday parties and he's charging only $100, you know, and how can I compete with that? And I never participate in those threads on Facebook because they don't get it.
They don't get it. No,
I don't have phone calls that come in that say, hello. Yeah, we're interested in hiring a magician.
Right.
I never get that phone call.
Yeah. We want to know if Chipper's available.
Exactly.
On this day.
So every time they call, they say, hey, we would like to know if Chipper's available for this show.
Yes.
Now, what that means is I don't have to sell myself.
Nope.
The price I give them is the price that they accept.
Right.
And very rarely do they go, oh, yeah, listen, our budget is very rarely. And when they do that, I have a little bit of wiggle room in that. But I don't have to, like, they never ever say, well, you know, the guy I just talked to an hour ago, he can do it for half that price. I never get that.
Right.
This sounds impossible to some people out there. I never
so
get
good.
that.
This is so good, Chipper.
Because the reason is supply and demand.
There's one Chipper.
If I am a magician, then
Right.
the supply of magicians is huge.
Mm-hmm.
If I am Chipper,
Right.
the supply of chippers is one.
Right.
And if I'm Chipper, the supply of whether or not I can do a show on that day is either yes or no.
Right.
And there's no in between.
Yeah.
Either I'm already booked or
Right.
I'm not booked.
Right.
Or I'm not available. That's it.
Yep.
And and that's why I keep telling, when people spend all their time wanting to do standard routines out there,
Yeah.
I say, just realize that you are selling yourself short and you are not putting money in your account.
Yeah.
And they don't get that. And I go, if I can put it in monetary terms,
Yeah.
you have decided to be one of many,
Yep.
right? Walking over here, we walked downtown here in Upland.
Oh, yeah.
And your
Great
comment
downtown.
was, why is the downtown filled with?
Beauty salons.
Beauty
all,
salons.
All hair shop places.
Right. None of them are unique. None of them are different.
Right.
If anything, you can go around and say, well, how much do you charge? Oh, this one's $5 less. I'll go there.
Right.
That's
So
it.
you're just price shopping.
You're price shopping. That's all it is. Gas stations,
Yeah.
we don't care about the brand.
Right.
We're price shopping.
Yep.
That's it. Magicians, yes. If it's just magicians, you're going to be price shopping.
Yep.
Can they do the amount of time?
Right.
The stuff on their video looks okay, and the price is really cheap. Yeah, let's just do it.
Right.
That's it. But if someone saw me in a show, the hope is they go, oh my God, this guy's hilarious. I got to have him for my corporate event. It's about me then.
Yeah.
And now I'm the one that gets to
buddy.
lead the dance.
Yeah.
I'm the one that gets to say, you know what, I would love to do your show. But from where it's located and blah, 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 this is the price. And they go, okay.
Chipper, this is so good. When you and I talked a little over a year ago, we had that glorious conversation. Those 2 fantastic days we spent together in Houston.
Yeah, for the corporate event. That was just
It was so fun.
great conversation.
One of the things that I was talking to you about is I was like, because I was at that point, I was hating my act. Because I had 3 things that were mine, and the rest was stuff that was other stuff.
Right, but we all go through that process.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing that no one realizes.
Yeah.
When stand-up comedians, wannabe comedians start
Yeah.
very young, they very often listen to the albums.
Yes.
They memorize the material.
Yep.
And they go do the material on stage. And then after a while, they realize, oh, I can't be doing,
Right.
Steve Martin's material or
Yeah.
whoever's material. I need to do my own. But what it does help you understand, which is important, is timing.
Yeah.
The dynamics,
Yep.
a beginning, middle, and end of a routine.
Right.
How do you get the applause? How
Yep.
do you hold for applause? How do you make something better than it should be?
Yep.
So the audience knows they need to react. So all that's coming into play.
Yep.
Now your next thought is,
Get rid of the stuff.
I need to get rid of the stock.
Yep.
And again, it's very hard for people, but the faster you are
Yeah.
at literally, it's like going on a diet. And you and I can talk about diets because we're horrible at it.
Yeah. Awful. I'm working on my before picture.
Yeah.
gonna be
but
staggering.
for, which is why both you and I can't stand to stand next to Scott Neary.
Oh my
So-
gosh. Yeah.
Because he's, thin as a rail.
I know.
But
Handsome devil.
But there is a sense of control that you have to have about your act. And if you can get to that point of going, I don't care if this line got a laugh. It's a stock line.
Right.
Everyone uses it. That's not me.
Can we hit on stock lines? Because I'm amazed at how many weeks that it will have different acts at the castle, and I'll go up, and in 3 rooms I'll hear the same lines. Can we just make a rule that like there's a list and we don't touch them?
No. Yeah, I know.
You're like, no.
you can't. And the problem is, well, let's put it this way. It's formed its own word, stock.
Yeah.
It is stock. There used to be, back in the vaudeville days,
It was hack.
it was, but it was also okay because in those days, if you were traveling,
that's true.
you
I
had a
never thought
new
about
audience and, not in this day and age where, if you see something on TV, millions of people saw it.
Right.
So you could get away with one act and run around with it, and you didn't care whether it hit or missed. As long as it paid the bills, the audience laughed, nobody cared. As it became more refined, the ones that stood out were the ones that created their own material. Your, Fred Allen's and people like that. In magic, there were still, quote, patter books you could buy. Here's the stock lines for cut and restored rope. Here's the stock lines. Well, if you're going to do the same effect, of course you're going to do the same lines. Yeah. That's why I try like crazy not to do the same effect. If I've changed up the plot line to an original plot line, the odds of me doing original material is now multiplied a million times.
Have you seen the Zen Diaries of Gary Shandling?
Not yet. I want to because
oh my goodness,
I'm a gigantic Shandling fan, and I've got stories about him.
So good. I want to hear the stories. I was watching it, and they showed his first Tonight Show appearance, and he walked out. And the first thing he did was pull out a pen with a chain on it.
Right.
And I was like, good God, that's where that bit came from that I've seen every magician do.
Oh yeah,
that was Gary's bit. Right. Because you always wonder, where did all these things come from originally, Oh, yeah. And then I just saw that literally 2 days ago and couldn't believe it.
Oh, yeah. And that's the hardest part is that I know for sure that, as my career goes along, that, eventually things will weave their way into other people's acts just out of osmosis. Yep. And everyone will forget that, I came up with those particular things in my act.
Right.
But in the same way that we didn't know about Gary Shandling, doing that bit.
Yep.
And darn well that if Gary had tried to do it later in his career, everyone would have said, oh, is he doing that act bit?
An old act bit.
And then it takes somebody to go, well, I'll give you another perfect example.
Yeah.
The juggler Michael Davis.
Yes.
Michael Davis became the first popular, well-known juggler on, not talking like W.C. Fields but someone that was presenting his act on Saturday Night Live and The Tonight Show, where it was new.
Oh, yeah.
And all of those lines got seeped into all the other juggler acts over time. And that later on, when Michael Davis was doing a stint at the Castle, I remember this distinctly, young magicians saying, oh, I can't believe he's doing all those hack lines. I'm like, that's the guy who wrote them. Seriously, know your history. Know your history.
Yeah.
About that.
How do you deal with being someone who's incredibly original in a I don't know, how do I say this? How do you deal with it when people want to do something that's yours? Because I know that's got to be a battle.
I, for the most part, I've been very lucky.
Yeah.
I think people know, and my friends know, and people who I've worked with know the originality of stuff.
Yeah.
So very often that's the thing that will just shut somebody down.
Yeah.
I've had the story told many times where someone new in magic sees something of mine, they try it, and then all it takes is one person to go, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And again, the same goes for people in stand-up comedy.
Yep.
Someone shows up, does a routine, and it just takes one owner of a comedy club or a booker or an agent to go, what are you doing? You're not going to get anywhere. You can work the small little, town of 20,000 people, but you're doing, stand-up that belongs to all these other people.
Right.
I have, there's been some issues in the past, like I mentioned on the last podcast or padcast.
At the podcast.
At the podcast.
Yeah, welcome to the podcast.
Magic. Where it takes a village, and the whole entire village, went, excuse me, that's Chippers.
Yeah.
And it restored my trust in humanity.
Like, oh, yes, there are good people.
Yeah, and sometimes it has to be. And you also have to kind of look at it like, who knows what? You can only control so much.
Yeah.
Jeff Hobson just had a whole thing on Facebook where someone
was his card on mouth. I just saw.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Hobson very nicely tried to explain it to the guy.
Yep.
The guy was a little bit of not understanding the niceness at the beginning.
Right.
And then it got a little more contentious.
Yeah.
And stuff. And thankfully, Hobson kept his cool and just kind of explained. And that this guy just didn't quite get it.
Yeah.
As everybody else does. And sure enough, Hobson's making his comments, and I am, agreeing with Hobson, so that more of us, the more that this guy sees that people are agreeing with Hobson, hopefully something clicks in his brain. But it's the fast pass. It's people want. I want to do magic I can buy, and I want to do the stuff that already works because I saw someone else do it. And I've got a career.
I feel like the market, because magic is there's marketed effects.
Yeah.
And those effects are good enough, going back to the whole thing of fine.
Oh, from last podcast.
I just want to keep plugging the previous episode. Yeah. If you haven't listened to it.
I went on my little rampage about the word fine.
Yeah.
To me, I don't like anything where you settle.
Right.
And most people use fine, not truly like it's fine and dandy, but like, yeah, it'll do.
Right.
That's fine.
Well,
I hate that.
The thing when I say fine about this, what I'm trying to say is that there are effects that are well thought out enough that if somebody performed it at a party, they'd go, "Oh, that was cute. I liked, that was a good trick." And because of that, I think it's the only art form that allows a hobbyist or someone who's a dentist 40, 50 hours a week to go on a weekend and just do someone else's stuff and make extra money.
Right.
And so because of that, I feel like it's either the young guys, like when I was coming up, I didn't know that you couldn't just do something you saw someone else do.
Right.
And then I think it's also a lot of guys who are, getting into magic in their 30s or 40s as a side business.
Right.
And they bought the course on how to make an extra, but 50 grand as a magician.
But again, I don't worry about those people.
Yeah.
And the reason, it sounds, I don't know if it's pompous or not. They will only work a small little area.
Yeah.
They will not be flying out to do major shows or corporates or theater shows or performing arts centers or casinos or cruise ships or, and those are where you really are going to learn very quickly what works and doesn't work. And, the worst thing you could ever do is go do your show for one of the big boys, and you're going to get kicked out, laughed at. People are going to roll their eyes and go, "Oh my gosh, seriously?"
Right.
And they're done, But for the dentist, I don't.
For the dentist.
Yeah, for the dentist.
Don't sweat the dentist.
Don't. Because you can't correct it.
Right.
But what you can correct is you being original.
Yeah, that's good.
So, and again, I don't understand why people don't. Well, I do understand because it's hard and it's frustrating and it's hard work. It is literally taking a broken down building and one person looking at it going, "Yeah, I don't want to buy that." But we're selling it only for $50,000 as opposed to $500,000. Right. And the person goes, "Yeah, I don't want to buy that. They look at it, it's horrible." And someone else looks at it and they get this big smile on there. And because they go, $50,000?
Yeah.
And I can rebuild this into something amazing.
Yeah.
And it's worth so much more.
Yeah.
And I think the same with this. There's going to be some blood, sweat, and tears put into it, but the reward, oh my God, I get a high every time I come up with a new bit, line, or a full-fledged routine.
Yeah.
And it hits. Yeah. It scores.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to score right away. It may show a glimpse of it being something that's got potential.
Right.
There have been times when I do something where I go, "Oh, this is dead in the water from get-go, and let's kill it now, put it out of its misery, and go on to something that has potential."
I'm trying to think of the piece. You and I were talking recently about how you'll come up, we come up with these things, and then sometimes you go, and you get frustrated, and you stick it in the garage.
Yes.
And then you come back to it a year, 2, 5 years later, and you go, "Wait a minute," and then all of a sudden it works.
You
just had that with something recently.
I did, and I can't remember what it was. But again, it's also the same with, I keep going back to comics because, that's where my other foot is in the comedy club type scenarios. They do that where they come up with a premise and they go, there's something there, but it hasn't clicked yet. Yeah. It hasn't clicked. And they put it on the back burner. And a couple of years later, because of life experiences, they go back to it and they go, "Oh my God." They look at it with fresh eyes. Yeah. And they go, "You know what? I just realized if I just change this angle." Yeah. I know what it was. What was it? I know what it was now. We won't spoil the ending of the routine, but.
Oh, yes. I remember.
But, I do Masters of Illusion, and we just taped season 5.
Yeah.
And that will start airing in a couple months. I use it to try out new material. because I don't want to do my original material on there.
On TV.
I do some of it. I don't do all of it because when people come to see me, I want them to see something they haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I really want to use it as a deadline to work on new material. So last year I put together a routine which worked pretty good.
Yeah.
For what it was, I liked it. But there was something nagging at me in the back of my head.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until after we had taped it for the show, it aired, people wrote to me saying, oh, we loved it. It was funny. And there was still something nagging. And then I forgot, how many days later it hit me.
Yeah.
And I realized the people I had on stage should be sitting and not standing. And that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
But it literally took this routine and lifted it up into the stratosphere with like another 20 jokes
so cool.
and gags and bits
so cool.
and strengthened it to the point where I was like, oh my gosh. And now if people see the original routine on TV and come see me live, there's actually enough newness in there for something to glean onto.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that. It's so frustrating at times when you're that wrestle with a new piece.
Oh yeah.
It's so frustrating.
And the premise of it, I was talking the other day, I'm trying to remember who it was with, but we were talking about the fact that as we've talked about before, the routine is not enough.
Right.
But look at your routine through as many lenses as you can come up with. And this is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Look at your routine as if you hated doing it. Okay. And now write that routine.
If you hate doing it?
As you hate doing it.
Okay.
And now write that routine.
What would you say? How would you act?
Right. Now do the routine as if you only had 2 minutes to do the routine and you got to get it all in. And now do the routine as if you just woke up from a donut coma and you are basically barely able to get the words out. Yeah. Do the routine as if you're drunk. Do the routine as if you're sober and you're high on caffeine.
Yeah.
Do the routine as if it's the day of your wedding. Yeah. Do the routine as if your wife just gave birth to your kid.
Yeah.
Do the routine as the last day of 4 years of college. And the reason I'm saying all these is you will do the routine so differently
every time,
and it's any scenario you want. Thereby, you can decide what is that scenario that works the best for the most laughs, the most situational comedy portion of it.
Yep.
And it literally tightens up the focus on a routine.
Yeah.
It really does.
It's so good.
It sounds very bizarre, but it's basically it's you're doing an improv lesson. You're saying, okay, now I'm giving you, I may not be giving you, the old thing of like, okay, everyone throw out a situation and a place and, who are the people that are meeting there, and someone says, oh, it's a train station, right?
Right.
It says, okay, so in this realm, to work on your own material, what if you did your this particular and you're a train conductor? I know that sounds bizarre. But they're going to approach stuff very differently than, say, a minister, a firefighter, a motivational speaker,
right? A
game show host, right? All of these
brings different perspective and different jokes,
and we've seen many times the game show, where it's like, okay, what if this becomes a game show?
Yeah.
And suddenly you have all these additional jokes and bits of business,
right?
There's the old David Copperfield doing the ring routine where it winds up on the shoelaces of a baby shoe.
Yeah.
But he does the QVC where he holds the ring up to the camera and then brings the sign in for special price now. Because someone was smart enough to say, how funny would it be since you're showing it on the screens that you're selling the rings like they do on QVC. Yeah. That's all you have to come up with, and suddenly there's 5 more jokes. Just for that.
Yeah.
If that's not if that's not it, then what's the next one? What if you're the ring bearer? What if you're the minister and the ring's being used for a ceremony? What if? And I always stress the words what if.
Yep.
And then improv, yes and.
Yep.
And no idea is a stupid idea. you may have a dumb idea, but that may be the stepping stone that gets you to the next idea.
Yep.
That may still be dumb, but the next idea from that stepping stone gets you to something that's just amazing.
See, and this is giving me more and more perspective on when shows, because it is a process. So when the show doesn't go great, but you're working on new things, or it doesn't go as good as you wish it would have.
Yeah.
You got to realize you're working it out.
It sounds very weird, but a bad show is a blessing because it tells you what didn't work.
Yeah.
And again, you go back to the old Thomas Edison, where they said, "I understand that you did like 2,000 plus experiments on creating the light bulb. Wasn't that discouraging?" And he said, "No, that told me 2,000 ways, very specific of how not to do it." And that's the key, So when an audience doesn't laugh at a particular moment, sometimes I'll say, maybe it's that audience. Let me try it one more time.
Right.
And I'll give it another attempt. And they still don't laugh. And I'm like, okay, maybe the joke's not as strong as it could be. Can I approach the joke a different way? Do I need to approach the joke more as a visual?
Right.
Do I need to approach the joke and really spell it out?
Yep.
Am I giving too much of it out that they are not solving the puzzle in their head?
Right.
So if I give them less, now it's funny.
Yeah.
And then you go back to things that Jay Leno has talked about. Jay is one that he looks at a joke in his repertoire and he starts taking a word out of the sentences, one word at a time.
Seeing how that word is really critical.
Right. And if the joke still works without that word, make sure that word's never in it to begin with.
Yeah.
And he
cutting
keeps going,
the fat.
cutting the fat. And then you go to the next phrase, which I loved, and that's from Alfred Hitchcock, where he says, "Movies are simply life with all the boring bits cut out."
Oh, that's great.
And that's exactly what movies are. We're not waiting for the guy to travel across town. We know he's going to get there. We don't need to see him riding in the car.
Right.
The only time we do need to see him riding in the car from point A to point B is because maybe we need to see him really think about something.
Yeah.
And then we realize, oh, he's using this time to kind of formulate what he's going to do once he gets over to the next. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
But everything else is cut out those bits.
See, and it's counterintuitive to the thought we have of like when you're first starting out, you're like, I need more time. I got a good 15 minutes if I can get to 30. So how can I add to this stuff when it's like sometimes what makes it better is taking away from it.
Absolutely. By the way, always taking away from it.
Always
I can't stress it enough. It's extremely rare when you add to it. If anything, we have a small clique of friends that I will bounce ideas off of.
Yeah.
Number one, because I know they have the same understanding of the process.
Right.
Because you need to have that understanding of the process.
Oh, yeah.
And number two, I also know that I'm trustworthy with their ideas and vice versa.
Yep.
And as a matter of fact, Eric Buss's incredible thing with the music.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he sent me a video of it, and I said, "It's great. Let me show you what I was working on." Because I was working on something that was similar.
Yeah.
But he did it great. And I said, "I'm ditching mine completely."
Wow.
Because but what I was able to do was to say, here's some ideas and thoughts from my process that may help you with yours.
Yep.
And we've had that back and forth.
Yep.
Where I've done stuff where I had a routine where I was trying to overprove something.
Huh. You're trying to overprove.
I was trying to overprove that it's a regular deck of cards.
Okay, yeah.
I was trying to overprove that it was random. I was trying to overprove. And I had quite a few people that was like, "No, it's great. It's great." And then I was talking to my friend Jade up in Northern California, and we've known each other for 20 plus years. And she was the first one, and she goes, "You know what? You're proving something you don't need to prove."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh my," and the light bulb went off.
Drawing attention to something people aren't even thinking about.
And it was night and day. Yeah. And the next time I did it, it got a better reaction because the audience wasn't being hammered over the head with, "But I really want everyone to understand."
Right.
That's
so good.
Yeah.
It's good to get different perspective from people too, and to invite, it's got to be people you trust.
Oh yeah. But I also want people that are honest with me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you another, story here.
Yeah.
I wrote for David Copperfield back in the day.
Yeah.
I was working in Tahoe.
Yep.
And It was this with Tony Clark, and we had a fun show that Tony's show that ran for quite a while, and I stayed with it for 9-10 months or so before I went out, because I get bored very quickly, and I really do. I get bored of if I've experienced the thing, whether it's a show run in a particular place. I want to go do something else.
See, that's one thing I want to ask you about too, because one week you'll be in Tahoe at the Loft, and the next week you're doing a performing arts venue, and the next day you're doing a corporate event, and the next day you're directing a show, and you do mix it up quite a bit.
It's the creative process. It's just I love and crave the creative side. Yeah, and when something stops being creative, I feel a little dead inside. I still enjoy it, but I'm really here's what happens in my brain. I go out on stage and we're now into the 6th, 7th month of something, and I will do one of two things. If I can't change the venue, I'll change the act.
That's good.
So if I can't change the venue, I will say, damn it, I'm going to come up with something new to do on stage that makes me want to be on stage. If I'm not doing that, I change the venue. Or the style of venue, or the style of performing.
It's the chase of the piece, and once you've got it, you're like, well,
exactly.
What am I doing now?
The hunt is always.
I'm not here just to put in reps of something I know works.
Right. The journey is always far more exciting than the destination. The journey to get to work the Magic Castle for me was far more exciting. To now know that I work the castle every year or 2 or 3. Right. It's still fun, but if someone said to me, "Hey, you can work the castle every week," I'd be like, God, no. Please no.
So you're getting ready. This is going to air while you're at the the last week's will have aired while you're at the castle.
Yes.
I'm laughing because I just finished a week at the castle. You're just starting a week at the castle. Here's the castle to me. I look forward to it for 2 months leading up to it. Like, it's going to be so fun. Can't wait to work the castle. Night 2, I'm like, I'm good for another 6 months.
It's exactly the same thought.
Like, all right, it's good.
It is. So just getting back really quick.
Get back, because people are going to get mad that you said you used to write for Copperfield, and I cut off that story.
I wrote some stuff for him, and this is the way it happened. We were working in Tahoe. He brought his show into Caesars.
Okay.
And he was very gracious and invited us to come see the show. Yeah. And so all of us went over. He put on a fantastic show. Afterwards, we're in the green room saying hi to him. Yeah. And David had a new piece in the show. Okay. And he said to people in our circle of friends, he said, "What'd you think?" And everyone went, "Oh my God, it's fantastic. Oh, it's great. It's great." And he turned to me and goes, "What'd you think?" And because I'm a little bit of an idiot, I said, "I've got a couple of things that I think would really improve it. I think it'd be funny if you do this." And immediately David cut off, not intentionally, but he kind of cut off everybody else that was in that circle of friends. Yeah. And he and I started having this conversation. Yeah. And then afterwards he said, "Would you want to come in and write some stuff?" And I wasn't doing it to get a job. Right. I was doing it because I grew up looking at productions, wondering how to make them better. Yep. When I was growing up, my dad would take me to a show when it was in dress rehearsals. Yep. And then afterwards we'd go out for pie at midnight. Yeah. And my dad would say, "What'd you like about the show? More importantly, what didn't you like?" And I would tell him, and he would say, "Oh, that's great. How would you change those things you didn't like?" And I would tell him, and I thought it was just a father-son conversation. And then a couple of months later, he'd go, "Hey, I got tickets to that same show. Let's go see it." And now I would see the show after it had gone from a dress rehearsal to actual production with an audience, week after week after week. It's finally honed, polished. Yeah. And now I got to see the changes they made. And I got to see some of the things that I thought about that they actually did, and some that they obviously did far better than I could ever think of as a teenager. But to me, it was about the process. Yeah. So I knew that he was testing this material out. Yep. I had some ideas. He goes, "We're working on stuff for the new special. Do you want to?" And then I wound up writing a bunch of bits for that particular special, which was his flying special. Oh, gosh. And so I wrote stuff for...
Best special ever.
Pieces for Graffiti Wall and for the film where Orson Welles doing a card trick, interactive, and a couple other intro gags and jokes for, I think there was Squeeze Box or whatever. Yep. And it was great. It was a good learning experience. I had not written for many other people up to that point.
Yeah.
Before that, I had written for a couple of comedy shows because I knew the stand-ups.
Yep.
And so I would send lines in, and then later on, I actually would send in jokes for Jay Leno's monologues.
Cool.
So I'd done that aspect. But this was very interesting to watch to see how Copperfield worked.
Yeah.
And he was unbelievably laser focused.
Wow.
Like laser focused to the point of inhuman. And it was amazing to watch.
Yeah.
And I would give him a list of jokes for one particular moment in a routine.
Yeah.
Where I'd say, these jokes will fit right into this section of this routine. You may want to try them out. So say I wrote 30 jokes for that one little section.
Yeah.
He would choose the best 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
And then he would try out each joke consecutively each night. And if one worked, that was made a note of. If it didn't work, that was out. And, he did it by process.
Wow.
This worked, this didn't. That's out, this is in, that's still working, that stays in permanently. Oh, what if we do a twist on it? What if we do that? This thing died completely.
Yeah.
And you go back to the thing as a writer where there's the old thing of you have to be able to kill your darlings.
Yep.
You write it, you may be proud of it, it may be the most amazing thing.
Right.
You should have no emotional attachment to the stuff you write.
Yeah.
Because the audience will tell you. The audience
They
is
get to
ultimately
decide.
the ones that will say, that sucked. It
Yeah.
really sucked. As a matter of fact, we're angry at you.
Yeah.
Or, oh my God, it's the best thing since sliced bread.
Well, and the greats continue to do that. They continue, like you said. I was in Vegas for an event, and another magician was in town, and we went and saw Mac at his show. And I've never met Mac in person. I've never met him. After the show, the other magician knew him, introduced me, and we were saying hey. And during that show, he did his card to pocket that I've seen him, or his cards across.
Right.
This is brilliant. And he's done it for years. He did something in that show that he was trying brand new. And he heard that I was a magician, doesn't know me from anybody.
And he said,
and was like, what do you think about this?
Right.
Do you think if, and people were waiting in line to like have him sign stuff. He's like, sorry, just 1 second. Do you think that if I did this or if and it was like, what a great perspective of like never, an iconic routine that other guys go, I wish I could come up with that. He's still like, it could be better.
It can always be better because there's always time.
Yes.
There's always the advancement of the world and technology and progress and cultures and ways of thinking. And if, it's the thing that I relate to my son all the time. There is no such thing as perfection. There's the understanding of the work that goes, that gets involved with getting to somewhere. Yep. And even my routines, the box routine, which has been a staple of my show forever, I'm still to this day coming up with new bits that get put into that. The same with, Mac and I've had many conversations.
Yeah.
I filled in for him a couple times over the years. But the coolest part was that I would work the improv there at Harris.
Yeah.
And I was at the improv anywhere from 2 to 4 times a year for 15 plus years or more. So whenever I was there, if Mac and I could do it, we'd go grab dinner, after the show, but before my shows.
Yeah.
Or I would go and see him, and it would be the running joke where Mac's like, how many times have you seen me?
Yeah.
And I'm like, Mac, the thing is, you're so damn good.
Yeah.
I always learn something.
Yeah.
And you do. You just, you never stop learning. The minute you stop learning and the minute you think you're fine with your act and the minute you think you've done it, you're going to suck. You're just, it's going to happen because then you become arrogant and belligerent and then you take it out on the audience.
Right.
What do you mean? This isn't good enough? What do you guys know?
Right.
And the truth is they know everything because they're the ones watching.
Yep.
If you wanted to see it, go buy a ticket, get in the audience and stuff. They're investing their time, there's always a process.
Yeah.
And, as we talked about before with Gary Shandling and Jerry, I worked many times over the years at Comedy Magic Club with Gary Shandling because that was his club to try out stuff as well.
Man. Yeah.
And to watch Gary's process was inspiring to me, but it also was humbling in knowing that he went through the exact same process as I do.
Yeah.
There's, there's no magic formula except try it, do it, twist it. Can I rework it?
Yep.
Is it just a dead fish? Is it something that there's something there?
Yeah.
You figure it out. And he went on stage to do 10 minutes. And that night he did an hour something.
Whoa.
To the point that I was co-headlining with somebody else.
Yeah.
And at the end, they said, "You guys have been great. Good night." And Gary said, "What?" Gary left the stage, right?
Yeah.
And the MC comes out. "You guys have been awesome. Thank you so much." Because the show at that point had gone an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Right. And Mike Lacey, the owner of the club, went up to Gary and said, "Gary, that was great. Do you know how much time you did?" And Gary very innocently said, "Yeah, I probably went like 20, maybe 25 minutes. I'm so sorry." And Mike had to break it to him. He says, "You did over an hour."
Wow.
And he's like, "Oh, are you kidding me?" And he felt horrible about it. And he said, I didn't get the audience, and I was trying to get them. I was trying to,
wow.
I just wanted to get them back into a mode, and I lost track of time. And I'm so sorry. And then Gary turned to me and the other guy, and he's like, "Guys, I am so incredibly sorry." And he said, "Are you guys working tomorrow?" And I said, "Yes." He goes, "I got something for you." And the next day he brought me the coolest gift, which were, he was going to release his, all of the Larry Sanders shows.
Yeah.
And he had an additional CD of interviews with, Jerry Seinfeld and, people, Sharon Stone. What's her name? Sharon Stone, the actress.
Yes.
With Sharon Stone and a couple others. These beautiful in-depth interviews that each one lasting like a half hour to 40 minutes long. And he says, "This has not been released yet. We're still processing it. This won't be released for another couple of months. I want you to have it." And then he was completely gracious about, cause he was, talk about Zen.
Yeah.
He was trying to get into that thing of being aware of everybody else around.
Yeah.
And stuff. And it was really nice. It was very cool. He didn't need to do it. Yeah. He could have very easily just said, "Yeah, sorry guys." But what had happened behind the scenes is we were the ones that said, "Mike, we don't need to go on."
Yeah.
And Mike's like, "Well, I feel bad for you guys." "No, we don't."
Yeah.
Gary's out there. He's closing the show. That's a great show. We don't need to go on.
See,
and it wasn't
because you're thinking about, we're here to do a show. The show just happened. Yeah,
I don't have an ego where I need to go out after Gary and say, "You know what, that was Gary, but here comes my stuff."
Yeah.
Wow, and aren't I the, bee's knees or whatever?
Yep. Yeah.
As if, no, it was like they got a full freaking hour and a half, 45-minute show. They were thoroughly entertained. Why, turn it into a thing where it goes downhill?
Right.
Just because of time.
Just because of, fatigue of,
we've seen that in corporates.
Oh my
4-hour award ceremony. And now we have a magician, right? And I've done that at the end of a corporate where I go on stage and I say, I get them up for a bit and I say, just show of hands. How many people here are good if we just do a fun 20 minutes? And they all raise their hands. And I look over at the booker, and the booker looks at the audience, seeing them raise their hands, and smiles at me and goes, because he doesn't want to disappoint me. He doesn't want to disappoint the contract. But I'm telling him by the show of hands from the audience that they're done. Yeah. They're spent.
See, yes. And this is where people have to think about the whole picture. And I think so often they're like, "Well, we want an hour." It's like, you don't listen. Let's talk about your program.
Right.
What's happening in your program?
They don't know they don't want an hour.
You're like, from us. People with dinner and cocktail hour, they've been in this room 3 hours before I get on stage.
That's right.
They do not want an hour.
That's right. They don't want an hour. It's the same with, even with kid shows.
Right.
Where they say, we want you to do an hour. Yeah. No. Kid show, half hour.
Yeah.
That's it.
Totally.
Maybe 45 if you're doing school shows.
Right.
But even then, they are not used to an hour.
Yep.
Of anything.
Oh, yeah.
At anywhere. Sitting down at home.
Yeah.
They're not used to an hour unless the cartoon changes, a commercial comes on. Right. There's time to go to the bathroom. There's time to go to the fridge, get a snack.
It's all knowing the audience. You got to know the audience. You kind of hit on this in our previous conversation about,
yes.
No, but you did talk a little bit about how, when you bring a volunteer up, knowing that person, knowing the group, shifting your jokes based on the person that is working with you.
Shifting your routine.
I was going to say, I know for a fact that you have several versions of routines that you do
Yeah.
based on location or demographic
Absolutely.
or the type of event. You want to talk about that a little bit for people? Because I think most guys think I'm either doing the egg bag or I'm not doing the egg bag. You know?
Yeah. And some of this comes from TV.
Okay.
Because again, if we go back to Masters of Illusion, the segments on there are usually 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes max.
Yeah.
As you know, most of us can't, tie our shoes in 5 minutes on stage because we were explaining the shoe and the knot and the tie and the inglets or what they call on the end.
Epaulets. What's an inglet?
I thought it was an inglet, but I
don't know what an inglet is.
It's the little end of the shoelace, the little wrap.
Oh, that's called an inglet?
Something like that. I could be wrong.
No, that's great.
There's something.
I look at those and I'm amazed that that's their job.
Well, here's the process.
Yeah.
Someone tied their shoes way back in the day, and they go, the ends keep fraying, right?
Yeah.
And then someone went, oh yeah, what are we going to do about that?
An inglet.
And then so they went, oh, we can wrap tape on it, and then that becomes. It gets into the holes easier to lace up your shoes. Again,
brilliant process.
This is the thing: is I never look at anything like it's just there.
Yeah,
I always look at it like, how did that come to be?
Yeah.
And when you start realizing that not some things, but every single thing around you has gone through a process to get there.
Yeah.
Someone invented the light bulb, but then it took someone else to say, what if we have a reflective lampshade around it that maximizes the light even more and brings it out to create more light because you're mirroring it.
Yes.
Someone invented putting a mirror at the end of a room to say this room is kind of tiny. Our living room is tiny. Let's make one side a mirror.
Yep.
And suddenly it just feels bigger. It just feels more spacious.
Yeah.
There's a process with anything. Someone put pictures up on a wall before someone said, we should put like wood around it. It's like it just kind of that way it stops it from being part of the wall. And then someone else went, let's call it a frame. Right? That's the thing, with that. Okay, so what are we talking about?
We were talking about because of Masters of Illusion and doing shorter, you coming up with variations in your routines.
So I depending on where I'm performing,
right?
I have different length versions of tricks.
Yeah,
and there are times when if the audience is not with me, I'll do a faster version of that.
Yep.
But I also know that I then have to put in a completely new routine.
Oh yeah.
In at the end
to make up for the
and
time.
Again, all that comes from stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
If for those that haven't seen the documentary of Seinfeld's Comedian, where he wants to come up with a new 45 minutes worth of material, and he thinks he has it, and he goes to a club and he goes through it in like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
All 45 minutes.
Yeah.
He slammed through in 15 and went, holy crap.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it's like.
Yeah.
Now, a magician will make the mistake of going, nope, I'm going to still do the meter on the jokes like this.
Nope.
Even if there's no laughs, because this is how I do it.
Right.
And, the audience is way ahead of you.
Yep.
They're way ahead of you. I would watch several comics ride that wave.
Yeah.
And if the waves are coming in faster, he knew to move it along faster. And if the waves were big and large, meaning the audience was giving a long, healthy laugh, you could let it lay out there forever before he went on to the next bit.
Yes.
Or to add a second or third punch to a particular joke. And that's the way it should be done. It's live theater. You should not, if you are performing your act the same way for an audience of 50 that you're doing for an audience of 5,000, something's wrong.
Yep.
Something's really wrong. Either one of those two scenarios sucks.
Yeah.
Or you have not known how to stay in the moment.
Right.
And case in point, we did a big giant arena show last year in Canada. Every night, the audience was 5,000 to 8,500 people.
Wow.
And it was done with good friends producing it, Murray Hatfield and Teresa, and myself, Sean Farquhar, and Danny Cole and Stacy.
Killer show.
So, I mean, first of all, we all love each other, so it was already a blast.
Right.
And then the crew that was there was already awesome. But this is a big arena show.
Yeah.
The stage is gigantic. It's a rock concert. We have gigantic screens up. We have, there's 5 to 6 cameramen. There is a full-on director backstage calling shots, camera 1, camera 2, camera 3.
Wow.
And you have to know how to do a show like that.
Right.
Now, most people would make the mistake of going, okay, I'm going to go out to the front of the audience and I'm just going to do my act bigger. And it's like, no. If you're in the audience, you will be watching those TV screens 80% of the time and only looking at the stage for reference.
Yep.
Which means you're doing a TV show.
You got to play to this camera.
You got to play to the cameras. You got to know where the cameras are, and you got to know and tell the director during rehearsals.
Shoot.
Don't cut away here. And that was the biggest thing with him. He did not understand comedy.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing, again, just for your, if I'm doing the routine with the prediction.
Oh yeah, on the jacket.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a very cool trick that looks like it's happening, and there's a gag at the end.
Right.
And he would cut to a different shot in the middle of it, and suddenly the joke would be, I'm like, no, what are you doing? You literally killed the gag. You have to keep the camera on me from the front and don't take it away until the joke is done.
Yep.
You are cutting in the middle of a joke.
Yeah.
I have a setup, then you cut to a different angle where the punchline is going to be. It doesn't work that way. And he had to learn the hard way by basically doing the first show where I went, did you notice the audience? And Sean had to deal with it and others, but in time he figured it out and got it. Then there's also a different way of shooting magic.
Right.
I don't want an extreme side angle. I don't want coming up, from down below, looking up my nostrils.
Yep.
This particular routine, I need to have my table in the frame as well because it has to do with the relationship between me and what's on the table.
Right.
If the table's not in the picture, the audience doesn't know I'm relating to something that's off camera.
Oh yeah. Or if you're going to do a reveal in this jar, that jar has to be in the frame the whole time. Otherwise, people think you just brought the jar on stage
the entire time.
Yeah.
And then it's very easy to dismiss it. Yeah. The other problem with TV that people don't realize is some of Murray's illusions.
Yeah.
When you look on a TV screen, there's no depth perception.
Yep.
So even though you can see the stage, if you're in the back of the arena and looking at a TV screen, suddenly it looks like the back wall is literally 6 inches, 6 inches behind the illusion. Therefore, the people are just running through the curtain in the back, getting in the illusion.
Yes. Yeah.
Meanwhile, the illusion is actually so far downstage that that's where a side camera is needed. So they can see an angle and they go, oh my God, look at all the space back there.
Yeah.
And moving lights that are sweeping. Say, for instance, Danny Cole, where he's sitting on an invisible chair.
Oh, yeah.
If it's a black behind him, everyone goes, he's sitting on something coming from the back curtain.
Yep.
If you have lights literally swooshing underneath him during that, now suddenly it's like, holy crap, there's nothing under there.
Right.
How's he doing it? That's great. So you got to be aware of all of those scenarios, and it changes.
Yep.
And
how funny, because you have to think from your audience perspective about what are they seeing. And in that case, you're going, they're going to see this on iMag. I got to make sure that because it's one thing to control the audience and what they see when they're just looking at you.
Yeah.
But now you also have to work with the director to make sure. It's crazy.
It's crazy, but it's a whole nother lesson that has to be learned.
Yeah.
Then comes the next thing. The stage is gigantic.
Yeah.
So how much time is it going to take for me to go out in the audience, find someone and bring them up on stage?
Yes.
In a corporate situation, that may take 20 seconds.
Right.
In this may take 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So now I have to be, okay, what jokes am I saying as I go out into the audience? Because I don't want any dead time.
Right.
And am I already pre-selecting a couple people from the back behind where I'm like, okay, I know I want to go for them and them because they look like they'll be great on stage. And getting them up on stage and making sure that they are in camera frame. And little tricks like there would be, spike tapes on the floor that was positioned for the volunteer.
Yeah.
Now the audience doesn't know that I'm saying to them, stand on the 2 crosses.
Yeah.
But as they're coming up with my mic off, I can say, Do you see the little red marks there? Just stand on that. And then I put my mic back on. Let's give them a nice hand. Let's hear it for them.
And now you're not having to direct them on mic.
I don't have to direct them. They're going to be there. I can walk around them and keep them within the frame if we're using the big video screen IMAGs and stuff. Yeah, there's all these other things you have to think about. Now, take that and think about that for TV. Yeah. For Masters of Illusion. Yeah. Right. And we know the situations with Masters in that sometimes it gets shot so fast that editing kind of goes out the window. Yep. So, you know, and part of that is that the people editing don't necessarily know magic. Yeah. And then you have other shows where they know a little more magic, or they have, you know, someone that can help with that. And we can talk endlessly pros and cons about all of that. I can only speak for myself because it's not my show. Yeah. So I know that I'm 100% responsible for me on stage.
So you're going into it planning.
I'm planning.
They can shoot this however they want and it's going to work.
No. No,
Okay.
Quite the opposite.
Okay.
I'm going into it saying, I need you to shoot it from this angle. I need this shot for here. Yep. I'm having the person stay this close to me because I know it's going to be a 2-shot. Because when you even if you put 4 feet, 5 feet distance between on camera, it looks like
so far.
It looks like a moat, like a chasm. Like, do these two people not like each other? That's what it looks like. It's amazing.
So you're basically storyboarding it for the director, so they don't have to think or take freedoms.
I'm visually storyboarding it, and the guys are so nice. Yeah. That they know I'm not being an asshole. Yeah. They actually appreciate it. They actually say to me, wow, thank you. You know exactly what you want. Yeah. And case in point, did you see me do the thing with the watermelon where I predict a watermelon and everyone stands up? Okay. There's a moment in that routine where it's awkward, purposely awkward. It looks like I've done the thing and it's so wrong. Yeah. And the audience reacts. There's no reaction from the audience. Yeah. Any good camera person would say, well, keep the camera on Chipper. And instead I went to him and said, I need you to do a wide full shot. Yeah. I need to, and this is how I explained it to him. I need the viewer at home to feel the awkwardness of the audience feeling awkward. Yes. That it went so wrong that where they were supposed to react, they didn't. And it's got to look like crickets. Yeah. You know, I said, this is everything but adding the sound of crickets. Yeah. And he got it. He understood what I was going for. And it worked out beautifully when it was taped because now, and I'm like, you know, all happy. Look what I've done. Audience reaction. And there's nothing. Yeah. And now you're seeing my face just crestfallen and embarrassed and frustrated and awkward. And I'm tap dancing on stage, kind of like, whoa, what's going on? Because this is TV. Right. And it's perfect moment.
Because you're raising the stakes so that when the reveal happens, then
the audience goes nuts.
Now they care. Yeah.
But now they go nuts, and the audience at home got to see them not going nuts. Right. And then going nuts. If they only saw them going nuts, it was just a trick and they applauded. Yeah. If they saw the other part of
miracle.
It, not only a miracle, but the audience is a character in the show. Yeah. And I want the people at home to see the audience go, this guy sucks. Yeah. Oh my God, he got it wrong. And this is live. Are they going to have to retape? Yeah. And then, gotcha.
Yeah.
You know,
that's great.
But they're a character. Yeah. We don't think of our audience members as characters. We don't think of our volunteers on stage as characters, but they're part of the situation comedy. Right. And so integral.
I have a hard, because I focus so much on the audience during the performance, I have a hard time trying to do like a dry run rehearsal without an audience. Like I set up in here to do, and I've never done this, but I was doing the castle and I was doing this new bit and I was worried about timing. I'm like, I'm going to set up, I'm going to do the whole show. I'm going to time it. I got 3 minutes in. I'm like, I can't do this. I need an audience.
It's really tough.
It's so hard.
And I equate this to the same as people working any of the Jurassic Park movies. When they go, oh my gosh, what it was like. And they go, it was really stupid. We're looking at 2 tennis balls on a stick of where the dinosaurs' eyes are going to be.
Afraid of it.
And we're afraid of tennis balls coming at us. You know, that's what that is. Yeah. And so the only thing I could say to you is that you really have to make it an acting experience where you actually can visualize the audience. Yeah. And interact with them and get into it.
That's good.
As opposed to going, I'm just going to run the lines. Running the lines is very different than really pretending. Like If anyone walks into that room and they see you only, they should say, they should they should be able to go, oh, so sorry, didn't know you were doing a show. And then go, oh, wait, there's no audience.
Oh, that's good.
They should know that you're in that moment. You weren't in the moment. Is really what it was.
I wasn't.
All those actors, they're looking at tennis balls, but when they're filming it, they will tell you, oh, no, I'm seeing a dinosaur. Because if I see tennis balls, I'm only going to laugh. Right?
Yeah.
But I'm seeing a dinosaur. And when they tell me what the dinosaur looks like and they show me renderings of it and the fact that it's going to start snapping at me and getting closer to me and I have to react. If you don't have something to react off of. So yeah, you got to, it's acting. I mean, that's
so good. So this brings me to something I definitely want to make sure we hit on is because not only are you able to do this with your work and your routines and your show, but you do, as you mentioned previously in our other conversation, you do work from time to time. You do consulting, and you also direct and kind of help co-produce shows for other people. Yeah. How do you approach that when it's? I mean, you have spent years getting to know Chipper, as a performer, and you have this intimate connection with who you want to be on stage. When you work with someone like you did with Steve Valentine, how do you help them get into that space, or how do you know what decisions are going to help support them in their process?
Well, when I started writing for other people as well as myself, I know what sounds good to me. Yeah. Early on, there would be jokes I would write and I'd laugh and go, oh my God, I really like that. I can't say it. That's not me on stage. Yeah. That's not a joke for me. However, that is a joke for a fellow stand-up comedian friend. Gotcha. And I will give them that joke because I can hear them saying it. Yeah. It's the same way that people who wrote for Bob Hope back in the day knew how Bob would deliver a joke. You knew how the people you're writing for would deliver. People for Carson, for Jay Leno, they knew what that rhythm was for those particular people. So with that in mind, you get into the mindset of how would Steve Valentine deliver certain bits of material and things like that. You want to be true to them. Yeah. You don't want to make it, Steve, please do a bad impression of me. Yeah. Right. Or vice versa. Right. Yeah. And here's the beauty of working with Steve. I cannot, first of all, one of just the nicest, most generous people around. And he truly loves magic. Yeah. He truly loves acting. Yeah. He truly loves the process. We had those things in common. Yeah. And for me, I wanted something else different to do. So when that came up, it was a perfect opportunity for me to literally pull back and say, I want to concentrate just on this. Yeah. Because when you're directing somebody else and writing material that goes into their script that they had already written. Oh yeah. It's a wonderful challenge. And it makes parts of your brain work that haven't worked for, your own stuff. Right. If I'm working on something for myself, I'll bring in someone to watch it because I can't watch me. Do you know what I mean? Yep. I'm too close to it. I'm in it. Yeah. So whether it's my wife, Lisa, coming in or other people, and it's the same way of getting feedback. But I've directed a lot of things over the years and produced a lot of shows over the years. Yeah. And Steve had quite a few magicians ask me to do their shows. Yeah. And I politely said no. Yeah. Steve was very different. And here's why. Steve was coming from it from an actor's point of view. Yeah. But with all of this amazing experience of being a magician from day one. Yep. He had both tools in his belt and both of them were amazing. Yeah. Not mediocre. Right. And so as opposed to me teaching acting to somebody for their own show, I didn't have to teach Steve acting. Right. We literally had shortcut methods where as he's going along in his script, I would say, you know what, that piece just sounds like bullshit. Yeah. It's just, and he would immediately go, you know what? Yeah, that's kind of a bullshit. How do we change that up? So we'd either rewrite it or we'd get rid of it. Yep. But there would be moments where I would say very shortcut, saying, Steve, the only problem I'm having with this, think about the guy that's sitting in the chair across from you and keep that as the focus point for the next 3 lines before you move over to, and he understood what I was getting at. Yeah. Anyone else would then directly look at the guy the imaginary guy in the chair, say all the lines to that guy and stuff. But he was understanding that I was trying to tell the audience where focus was, not splitting focus between Steve and an audience member, Steve and a set piece, or things like that. You don't want to be splitting focus. You want to be telling them where to look, how to feel all the way along.
Oh, yeah.
And with Steve, it was just the nicest. I never got frustrated ever with working with Steve because he understood. It was the same as any director giving a good actor notes. I'm saying, you're almost there, amp up on this, pull back on that. Yeah. And he's like, got it. And he would nail it the very next time he did it. So good. It was not no, Steve, you got it all wrong. Yeah. It was literally like, holy crap, he's understanding what I'm getting at. Yeah. He knows it. You feel it, and then you feel whether it's truly authentic enough. And he had moments that he had written that were so good, but he was so close to it. Yeah. That I would say, Steve, this stuff is golden. He does a character of a guy that he befriended back in one of the old countries that is a bit of a con artist. Yeah. And they were almost very quick stories. Like, yeah, he would do this and then he would do this. And I was like, Steve, you got to be this guy. Yeah. You can't just tell the story. Yeah. You can do this guy and you can be him. Yeah. And suddenly now the audience is watching this con man conning people. Wow. On the street, in a bar, at a restaurant. Yeah. And it was gorgeous, but anyone else handling that, they wouldn't have been able to do it. Steve, I knew absolutely could.
He had the tools.
Oh, it was a gorgeous thing. And the show did great. We had amazing people come to see the show. Yeah. My favorite thing out of it was Steve Minchin and his wife came to see the show. Wow. And I'm a huge Tim Minchin, huge Tim Minchin fan. Yeah. And I got to talk with him about family and career and comedy and kids and stuff. And we did a sold out run in LA, and then we did a second sold out run, and then I did a smaller version of the show at a club in LA. Yeah. Did a version of it at the Castle. Yep. He did a version of it for Magic Alive. But we'd like to bring it back and do the next version of the show. Okay. Just because, it was strictly to be as a work in progress. Yeah. And again, that's the thing I loved. We wanted it to be good enough that it stood on its own. Yep. But we didn't want it to be an apology. We didn't want it to be like, guys, we're just working stuff out. Yeah. Instead, we wanted to be like, no, here's the show. But in our brain, we already knew what we wanted to do down the road.
Oh, that's cool.
And people just went nuts for it. And I couldn't have been more prouder of it. Could not have been more proud of Steve. He wrote a terrific show. He was just amazing in the show. And the people that went to it either knew he was going to be good and enjoyed it, or they had no idea what they were about to see, and they were completely blown away. Yeah. I can't say enough good things about the guy.
He's so cool.
Yeah.
Steve came to brunch at the Castle and had his kid there, and little girl. Yeah. I don't know how many kids he has.
Two.
And it was just so fun to see him just being a daddy. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. They had the Easter egg hunt going, and he's just running around with this kiddo. And one of the things that I've so admired about you take what you do so seriously, and you put in the work, and
that's why this is not a funny podcast. No, I mean, but but seriously, it's cracking me up because it's like, this is the most, I know
we're so goofy, and we're like here. We're
and that's the thing is I take it way serious. Yeah. On what I do. But then the fun is that when I'm on stage, I don't take it serious at all.
Right.
I mean, I
put in the work.
I put in the work. Yeah. I have my tools. I have my toolbox. And now it's got to be nothing but fun. Right. But anyway, I'm sorry. What were you saying?
I just, no, what I was going to say is that you are a hard worker. I feel like there's a lot of guys that are doing this. There are not a lot of hustlers. Do you know what I mean? In a good way. Yeah. Is hustler a bad term?
This will surprise you when you hear my answer to this.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not a hustler. And that's no. It's really bizarre. I just like working.
Okay.
Okay. So
hard. You work hard.
I work hard at it. I should work harder at booking things.
Okay.
But the weird part is I'm doing great.
Yeah.
I can't complain at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I really can't. I am not. If you look at my office, it's a mess.
Yeah.
If you look at the way I handle business, it's all over the place. And
Really?
yeah, but you know what happens? It's the same way as people. I'm one of those guys where, someone goes, "Oh, do you have your business card?" And I go, "I don't have one anymore."
Yeah.
I literally, the business card I'm using now is about 4 years old.
Yeah.
And that business card, before that business card, I did not have a business card since age 20.
Wow.
No business card. It was just.
It's like, get their card.
I was
here's
just
my
like
number. Or
I have a website.
It's my name.
Yeah. And it's only now that I'm actually catching up with some of that. I devoted so much time to. I love the creative. I love the things that make me passionate. Yeah. I'm not passionate about the office. I'm not passionate.
Right.
I'm passionate about the work and the new discoveries and experiences and things. So I could. I mean, it's weird because people. I'll give this explanation. Lisa and I go and see Play Dead. With
Todd Robbins.
With Todd Robbins.
Teller was part of that.
And this is Todd and I had met like years ago.
Yeah.
But not really met.
Okay.
So we go see the show, and afterwards I was like, "Hi, I don't know if you met," and he goes, "Chipper, how's it going?" And I go, "Oh, you do?" He goes, "Dude, you're like the hardest working person." And I was dumbfounded, and I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yeah, right. Yeah, sure." And I'm like, "Whatever." And I'm like, "Todd, I work as much as you do, I guess." And he goes, "Yeah, but you can't tell me, you're all over the place. You're doing it." And it's weird because I never think of it that way.
Right.
But then some other people would do the same thing. "Oh, Chipper, you're the hardest work." I'm like, who's telling this ridiculous, lie? I mean,
funny.
I'm happy. I'm content.
Yeah.
There's always work.
Right.
And I jump around and do many, many things.
Right.
But I am not someone that is saying, "And now I need to send out the."
No. So maybe I should preface it this way: is that you're constantly growing. You're working on new material. You're working on the act. You're doing different types of shows to keep it interesting for you.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Is I love that I can work a 2,000-seat theater, and then the next day I can work a corporate for 50 people.
Yeah.
And the next day I'm working an intimate 120-seat theater.
Yeah.
And I'm getting the benefits of each of those.
But it's also because you put the work in that allows you to take your act and go to these different places. When I say that you're a hustler and that there's very few guys that are, by contrast, there is a majority of magicians or comedians who are not working as much as they'd like to, and also aren't doing anything to be better or to develop their act or to get into a market that. Do you know what I mean? They're like, well, the phone's ringing for you. It's like, no.
Right.
Anyway, I started talking about Steve Valentine's adorable children because what I was going to say is that not only are you an incredibly hard worker, which you can disagree with if you want,
let's go back to that. I think this is a business, and I'm going to get.
Let me compliment you, damn it.
I know. But I also I hate compliments. I really do, because I don't know what am I supposed to do with that? It's like, thank you, and then I go home and I go, I got complimented today. But this is a business of feast or famine.
Yes,
and this is not a business structured in an ordinary business scale. And I think that people make the mistake. For instance, it is pretty hilarious if you have someone in the business, and I will not name names. But at a certain point, maybe they've gotten into their 30th, 40th year of performing, and they have the gall to then go, "Don't you know who I am?" And demand things and stuff like that. It's like, you're in the freaking wrong business.
Right.
Your ego is ridiculous. And what the hell? We're not curing cancer.
Right.
We're providing a fun, memorable evening at the most. And, but we're not,
we're not owed anything by anyone.
At any point, at any time.
Yeah.
And there's this perception of oh, I'm going to get to this level, then I'm going to get to this level, then I'm going to get this. This is not a mountain.
Yeah.
This is quite literally electrocardiogram
peaks and valleys.
Of peaks and valleys.
Yep.
And you don't know when the peaks and valleys will end.
Yeah.
They may taper off. It may stop abruptly. You may have your absolute best show
it's when you
on your final. Right.
Peaks and
And here's the thing. You may flatline for several years and then have peaks and valleys again.
Yeah.
It's that sporadic.
Yep.
And the reason for me doing all these things is simply because I kept looking ahead at what the market was.
Yes.
So if I can be really down to earth serious about it.
Yeah.
I came from an age of, oh my God, we love you should really be in Vegas.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you should be in Vegas. You should be in Vegas. You should be in Vegas. And I kept hearing that. And my generation, from my age, Vegas was the place to go if you were a variety act. And you could be paid well back in the day.
Yes.
When I went,
actual contracts from casinos.
Actual contracts that were worth thousands upon thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
When I went to Vegas and started to experience Vegas, I was watching it decline.
Yeah.
And immediately I was like, this isn't going to turn around.
Yeah.
Because as a producer, with my producer hat on, if I was someone that was saying, we're going to hire 50 showgirls. We're going to have 4 amazing acts in the show.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have our tech crew. We're going to have special effects, lighting, costumes. We're going to have this. Versus,
I can rent the room.
We're going to have 4 showgirls, a lead singer, and maybe an act.
Yeah.
Versus, let's hire a comedian with a microphone and we're done. In other words, as a producer, why would I want to spend more money if I could save money?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so little by little, these acts that we're making and commanding thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And we're talking about acts like ones that we loved.
Right.
Lance Burton and Johnny Thompson doing the great Tom Sony.
Oh, yeah.
And Mr. Electric and all of these wonderful, wonderful acts. There was no opportunity for them.
Yeah.
Lance made the proper move of realizing that the town's getting smaller.
Yeah.
He's got this small spot in his show. If I rotate routines through that spot, I will have learned enough to put together a larger show.
Yep.
And then that became successful.
Yeah.
I looked at it the same way. I looked at what Lance was doing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Indirectly, and said, oh, I can't be doing the 15-minute act. Because I was doing that in Atlantic City, in Vegas, in Tahoe, in a couple other casino places.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't do that. I got to start adding material.
Yeah.
So anywhere I went, my contract was, I will do the amount of time and I will start and end the same way, but I get control of whatever the hell I want to do in the middle of my act.
That's good.
And that was fine for them because they wanted the ending to be the same. So the dancers in the show knew when to be ready for the next number.
Yep.
The text people, stage crew knew when we're going to shift to the next number.
But you could, in that sandwich, change out.
Keep going. Right.
Yep.
So then that's when the beginning of my own solo show started. And even then I didn't have enough material. So what did I do? I hired an extra act.
Yep.
And Jade would be in my show doing 2 spots in the show. First act, second act, she would do 2 spots in either of those. And then later on, different people, Eric Buss did it, sometimes Arthur Trace.
Yep.
They would come in, and I wanted acts that were so strong. And this is, again, when it comes down to ego.
Yeah.
I want them to succeed.
Yeah.
I don't want an act that I bring in.
So that you look better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If anything, this is what I want to happen.
Yep.
I go off into the dressing room. I'm toweling off, getting ready for my next spot, but I'm hearing the audience
just roaring,
applauding.
Yeah.
And there's not we can't wait for Chipper to get back. I want them to be so entertained that when I come back, I now continue catching that energy wave.
Yep.
Because again, I'm thinking about the show and not myself.
Right.
It's the same way that Carson would literally make the person at the chair in front of his desk the star and not Carson.
Right.
I'm going to make the potato chip lady just shine tonight. It's not about me.
Yep.
All of it's going to just go right back to her, and she's the focus. So the same with that. But I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that market in Vegas drying up. And sure enough, I had people calling me, and it was these smaller acts going, listen, if you got anything, let me know. If you can book me anywhere, let me know. And in my head, I was like going, why don't you come up with more material? Because then I could book you.
Yeah.
Because the people I was hiring were already able to do 2 10-minute, 12-minute spots.
Totally.
Not one.
Right.
And
as a producer, you've got a limited budget to work with.
Limited budget.
And if this person can do 20 minutes and this person's only got a 9-minute act,
I'm gonna go with
they can do more time.
And so that continued on.
Yeah.
So now I'm looking at, okay, I want to do theaters.
Yep.
And I look at that, and getting into theaters literally takes 5 to 7 years minimum.
Yeah.
Because no one wants to take a risk on a new show.
Yeah. It's that whole thing of in any different avenue in this business, nobody wants to hire you to do something you haven't already done.
That's right.
So it's hard
no one
to get
wants
those
to take
first...
a risk.
Yeah.
No one does. So, and the thing, again, a little insight into performing arts centers.
Yeah.
If you are a booker for a theater, and you're putting together a subscription series, there's a couple things you want to know. Is the show good?
Yeah.
Is the audience going to thank you, or are they going to hate you for booking the show?
Right.
Because these are season subscriptions. And are you going to sell tickets?
Yeah.
And is the technical director of the theater going to love you or hate you?
Yeah.
Are you easy to get along with? Are you good at follow-up? Are you good at travel? Are you good at...
Self-contained? Can you come in and come out without making a mess and
all of that
stuff? Yeah.
And if you don't hit and check off each of those, you're not going to get hired. Wow. Then the next phase is, well, I don't want to be the first to hire them.
Who else?
So I'm going to wait till he gets hired by 20 other places, and then I'll even start considering them.
Wow.
The thing that magicians forget with performing arts centers is you have to have a saleable product.
Right.
I can't even begin to tell you, oh yeah, if you see my show, they love it. That's not a saleable product. Seeing your show and loving it is not a saleable product. It's not.
Yeah.
This may be blowing minds out there.
Yeah.
How are you setting up the your sales material, your PR material?
Yeah.
Is there enough in there that makes people lessen the risk to buy a ticket knowing they're going to have a good time, as opposed to hoping they have a good time?
Yeah.
If you know somebody like Jerry Seinfeld, he's had a hit TV show.
Yep.
We've seen him on tons of television shows doing stand-up. We know we're going to go see a Jerry Seinfeld show, and it's going to be good.
Yeah.
We know he's not going to suck.
Yeah,
There's
true.
no risk to that ticket, except maybe the price, because it's really high. But the price is also high because he knows that people will want to come.
Right.
So when it comes to performing arts centers, do you have something that's really viable they can sell? And that was the first thing out of the gate, was get that package to really sell the show. And the hardest thing with magic is most people think, oh, magic, it's kiddie stuff. It's family and kids and stuff. My show's not a kiddie show.
No.
And selling my show to theaters, I would very often hear this from presenters and bookers, where they'd kind of say, please forgive me for asking this, but again, don't be mad at me. But, well, Chipper, you do magic. Is it corny?
Yeah.
And I would hear that all the time.
Over, yeah.
And the reason I would hear it is because of all the corny shows out there.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I'm like, oh God, it's anything but corny. Trust me. And then I'd send them video, and they go, oh my God, this is not a typical magic show.
Right.
I go, exactly.
Yeah.
And by the way, here's the video you put on your website that will help sell the show.
Yep.
And then and there's the reason why I did all of the Masters of Illusions.
Yep.
Because
you
that
have
helped.
Credit, and you have footage, and you've got...
Yeah, I'm not on for one season. He's been on all 5 seasons.
Yeah.
Oh, the guy's got to be good.
Yeah, they wouldn't have had him back.
And then the next phase is, oh, he's won some awards. The guy's got to be good.
Yeah.
Oh, he's appeared here, here, and here, and here.
Yeah.
Oh, he's appeared on that TV show. Oh, he's appeared on that theater. Oh, and little by little, you're breaking down that wall where people go, oh my God. The weirdest thing has been happening in the last month, which has been bizarre and just strange. 2 of my shows, when I was out on tour with my solo show, guy comes up to me after the show and said, we drove 5.5 hours to come see your show.
Wow.
And I was like, you're insane.
What?
And then I laughed and said, I wouldn't drive that, to come see my show. And he goes, no. We heard great things about it. We've seen you do this and this.
Yeah.
We wanted to see the full show. It's like, oh my God, bless you. Thank you. That's awesome.
So great.
Very next night, a guy drives 4.5 hours
Wow.
to come see the show. And I'm going, this is a weird starting. Now I've got people in line afterwards for meet and greet going, yeah, we live about an hour and a half away. We came all the way into the city to see. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And so there's something there that's kind of, getting a cool vibe in that. But I've been doing theaters for 20 years now.
Yeah.
The very first one was at the Brea Curtis Theater. As a matter of fact, I'm going back there I think I'm there like next May.
Okay.
And it's the 20th anniversary.
Wow.
Of me starting the show.
Wow.
That I said, I want to go back. And they were all excited. And it only seats 200 seats.
Right. Yeah.
And I said, let's do 3 shows.
Yep.
And I'm actually going to be doing like tons of new material there just for the fun of it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's the thing. It takes a long time.
Yeah.
People don't get that aspect of it.
Yep.
And during that same time, I'm still doing corporates. I'm still doing special events. I'm still doing comedy clubs. I'm still doing, I want to say cruise ships, but I've been purposely keeping myself off of cruise ships now for 4 years.
Wow.
Because I got really burnt out.
Yeah.
And now when I go back, I will enjoy it because it'll be just a week here, 2 weeks there.
Yep.
But I don't want to be doing that year round.
Yeah.
And it's about being stuck on the ship. And more importantly, it's about the fact that I only get to perform one night.
Yeah.
My big show twice in the same night.
Right.
And the rest of the time I'm twiddling my thumbs.
Hanging out. Yeah.
And all I'm looking at is a clock ticking going, why am I not home?
Yeah.
Why am I not having fun with my wife and kid?
Yeah.
And why am I not doing something more creative? Will it pay the bills sometimes? Yes.
Yeah.
Sure. But I'm not looking at it like, that's it. I'm set.
Right.
And by the way, should any of those markets fold up, I have all these other markets.
You don't have all your eggs in one basket.
Never put it. Who was it that was saying diversify?
Jeff Savilico.
Jeff Savilico.
Yeah.
And it's so funny that you were like, I never heard that before. Yeah. That's always been in my mind.
Which after I said that to him, and then when I'm getting ready to talk to you, I'm realizing you've done that. You have so many different avenues.
And there's no right or wrong to it. It's what works for you. Amos Levkovich, beautiful dove worker who's since passed away, but I've known him for years. We don't see each other for about 3 or 4 years, and I talk to him and I say, hey, what's been going on? Oh, Chipper, and he doesn't say anything. Yeah. I'm like, dude, what's up? What's happening? He goes, oh, no, Chipper, you travel everywhere. And I'm like, dude, because we know each other, and I'm like, what's going on? He goes, and he was embarrassed by the fact that Monday through Thursday, he was doing school shows in the LA area. Yeah. And I could not understand this at all. He was like, oh, but Chip, it's not like we used to with the traveling and stuff. I'm like, dude, if I could do them, I'd do them.
Right. Yeah.
And he's like, what? I'm going, let me get this straight. You're doing it because you're staying at home. Yeah. You're raising your son. Right. You get to come home to your own bed. Yeah. You get to travel every so often to do a one-nighter with a Dove act. But otherwise, you're home. When he's at school, you're working. When he's out of school, you're done. Are you kidding me?
That's amazing.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
But he was embarrassed by it. And he should never have been. To me, it's like, I have more respect for you than I do for people that are on the road 24/7 and they never see their family.
Right.
What's that about?
Well, we feel like we have to live up to this expectation that doesn't exist.
Oh, it doesn't
everybody,
exist.
And Facebook has made it worse because I feel like you see where everyone's at, and what they're doing. And one of the things I did want to bring up to you, and this is why I brought up Steve Valentine's Adorable Children.
Yeah.
I know with you doing as much as you do, how much you love your family and how you prioritize time with them. And people are probably going like, how the hell does that happen? How do you how do you be a good dad and a good husband? Because I'm sure we've both had friends who they go on the road and the road is not as fun as it sounds, and you come home and you're exhausted, but you don't get to be exhausted. You got to be daddy, or you got to be a husband, or you got to work around the house on crap that's broken because you've been gone for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Can you touch on that just a little bit?
Yeah. Okay. First of all, the thing with social media is that you're only going to show what we're putting up there.
Right.
I'm certainly not going to every day talk about my family on social media.
Right.
Number one is there's a sense of privacy.
Yep.
Number two is I don't want it to be every day pat myself on the back and go, hey guys, look at me. I'm an amazing dad.
Yeah.
Because it's not about that. It's just about being there.
Right.
Is really, that's not something I have to tell anybody about.
No.
I'm enjoying my time at home.
Yeah.
So for all the gigs I do, there's as much or more of me being at home and spending time with Ethan and Lisa and us doing things as a family, or me doing things just father son, or just, for Lisa and I to go out on a freaking date.
Yeah. It's great.
That kind of thing. Then there's the other side of it where, and I know this happens with you too. If I can take them with me on a gig, they come with me.
Oh yeah.
If it's summer, we plan things where, they get to come with, and we spend either extra days on a location to do a real vacation, not a fake one.
Not a fake one.
And then the other thing, and I learned this early on, especially from stand-up comedians that would be on the road 24/7, and then they dreaded going home.
Yeah.
They would talk to me about, oh my gosh, I got to go home. And then because they didn't know what that was like, and they didn't want, and for me, I have done, it's so opposite.
Yeah.
It's like Christmas.
Yeah.
I get to do this gig, and then, oh my God, I get to go home.
Yeah.
And the night before I fly out anywhere to go home, I never sleep.
Yeah.
I'm that excited to be home because it's just like, oh my God, I get to be home. I'm in my own element. And, you hit upon something. They go home and they're like, I'm done. I've just worked. I've been
working now. I just want to,
And that you can't do that.
Nope.
And if anything, it's the opposite. Rest while you're on the road if you can.
Yeah.
And when you go home, you are 24/7 into being dad and husband and, taking care of the house and everything. So when I'm home, I'm getting up at 6 a.m. to take Ethan to school.
Yeah.
I'm picking him up from school.
Yep.
Because what am I supposed to do? Like, it's that thing of like, hey, honey, I did my job. Bank account's full.
Jeez.
And it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because I also know how hard it is on Lisa when I'm gone.
Right.
Because that means Lisa is doing all that plus her own job.
Yep.
In which she works with special needs children and doing physical education.
Yeah.
And stuff. And the reason for that job is because it can take place during the school hours that Ethan's at school.
Yep.
So that when Ethan's out of school, she's done.
Yeah.
But that's a long day for her.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to get in that situation where she hates me for being away.
Yeah.
She hates me for being at home.
Yeah.
I hate being away, but now I dread being home.
Yeah.
That's the ridiculous. We shouldn't
It's
be
so
married
backwards.
then.
Right.
And thankfully, I married someone in the business. She was a dancer on Broadway, Radio City Rockette.
Yeah.
She gets the business.
Yeah.
She gets it. There's no question about this crazy ass business, which is awesome in that respect.
Yeah.
She knows the stuff I go through. She knows the crap I have to deal with. She knows the people that are fake.
Yep.
She knows the people that are real.
Yes.
And stuff. And she will call people out on it. And stuff. And I love her for that.
So good.
But yeah, I mean, you do the things because you love it, and you also do the things because it affords you the opportunity to do the other things you love.
Yes.
And so when we complain about, whether gigs are coming in or not coming in or whatever, I can't complain. I can't. And here's why.
Yeah.
I have so much respect for anyone that works out in the fields.
Yeah.
Picking vegetables.
Yeah.
Anyone that has a 9-to-5 job that is nothing but stacking and loading boxes or waitressing or all of these demand utmost respect because I would be horrible at all of them.
Yeah.
I have a job where I literally get somebody telling me in the moment how I've made them feel.
Yeah.
I mean, The worst case that can happen is they don't laugh. That's the worst.
Yeah.
That's literally the worst thing that can happen.
Wow.
Is I say a joke, they don't laugh, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's crazy because the rest of the time they're laughing, they're enjoying, they're telling me how wonderful I am.
Yeah.
You have to be humble in this because you got to realize it's literally one of the coolest jobs in the world.
Oh yeah.
You know, and to be able to have something that you can that seems to work on stage.
Yep.
That seems to be relevant, that seems to be something that people want to see, that want to enjoy, and that they do enjoy. I can't complain. I mean, it really is. If I'm leaving and I come back and guess what? My bags didn't come back home with me. I'm really okay.
Yeah.
Because in the big picture, again, I'm doing the thing I like and not the thing I don't ever want to do.
Yeah.
There has to be people in the world doing stuff they don't want to do.
Right.
And I applaud them.
Yep.
Because the world's, you know, as I say to my son, the world is absolutely magical and fantastic and beautiful to the point that you can't take it anymore. It's that gorgeous. And all the way to the other end of the spectrum, that it is the most awful, horrible, despicable place. And the only difference in that spectrum is how you choose to view it.
Wow.
And how you choose to change it.
Yeah.
To change it.
Yeah.
Because if you're expecting the world to be a happy world to you,
Yeah.
you've asked a lot.
Yeah.
You will always be disappointed.
Right.
You know? But if you say, okay, you know, and as I told you over lunch, it's my son that says, you know, we didn't do volunteer work lately. We should like sign up for some stuff.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
How could you say no to a kid that's asking to go do volunteer work?
Yeah.
You know, that's like, you know, that's where Lisa and I feel like, oh my God, we raised him right.
Yeah.
You know, he's actually worried about other people and wants to help other people.
And doing it out of his own
heart.
Compassion, you know?
Oh, yeah. It has nothing to do with religion.
Right.
It has nothing to do with, you know, any sense of, oh, if I do this, I'm going to get extra credit.
Yeah.
Or if I do this, my parents are going to buy me a new video game.
Right.
And stuff. It has nothing to do with any of that.
Love it.
It has to do with him going, no, you know, the thing we keep saying, leave the world the better place than you found it.
Yep.
Do good unto others. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Yep.
You know, that kind of thing. Just kind of wish more people would.
It's so good, man. What a great way to just focus on the gratitude and
it has to be.
Yeah.
There's no other way around it. There really isn't. If you're not really grateful for it, maybe you haven't looked hard enough to see what's in it to be grateful for.
Yeah, buddy. I just realized I didn't do this at the end of our first episode.
Which is
how can people, I'll put it all in the show notes, but how can people get a hold of you or follow your journey? They cannot. I have no business card. I'm going back to that. No more business cards. If people want to see the Chipper experience, how do they...
Let's see, the best website would be either thechipperexperience.com, which is the partial name of the show. The full name of the show is The Chipper Experience, where comedy and magic collide.
Yes.
We are actually rebranding once again because we've had that, the particular logo we've had successfully for quite a while, but we want to change it up because now it's gotten to the point where we're starting to call them tours by the year. Which is
cool.
kind of fun.
That's really cool.
So this is the year where we're actually starting to say, you know, hey, it's the Chipper, 2018 tour.
Yeah.
Because people, we're just gotten into that place where I have enough routines.
Yeah. That
now,
you can come back the next year and do it different.
Yeah. It's like with Masters of Illusion. We did a gigantic tour up and down the West Coast with a live show.
Yeah.
And they've asked me back for some future shows. And I already said to them, I said, yeah, it's going to be all new material. They're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, you know,
I love that
because I've got notebooks of stuff I really want to still get up and running.
Yeah.
But, like I said, I had people in my act early on because I didn't do enough time.
Yeah.
Now they're gone, and I still do 2 hours with tons of routines left, back at home in the garage and the trailer and others that I, will start rotating through. That's the thing, is I wanted to have as much material to choose from depending on the gig, depending on the venue, depending on.
Oh, I love
this
that.
came into place, by the way. Most appropriately on this last Masters of Illusion tour.
Yeah.
We were doing theaters that sat anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 seats.
Oh, wow.
And we got into a theater at Westbury. Westbury is 3,000 seats in the round. And I was in pure heaven because my idol, George Carlin, did one of his TV specials in that. And I was like, oh, you have no idea how happy I am to be here.
You filmed it there in that space?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Meanwhile, people on the show are trying to figure out how do we do illusions in the round.
In the round.
And I was in heaven.
Yeah.
I reworked my structure of my routines because I could.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it was the most fun I've had in a long time.
That's so cool.
Commanding 3,000 people. When you're in the round, it's actually not that big because they're all the way around you, so they're not that far away.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
When you have them all directly in front of you, 3,000 seats, you're going to have some people way back in the rafters.
Yeah, this keeps people
in
closer.
The round, you're really close.
That's
and
really
you're
cool.
running down these aisles to come in to do your stuff.
So fun.
And the stage is turning slowly as you're doing the stuff. It was so cool. But yeah, you just want to be prepared for any scenario.
Yeah, to be able to switch it up at the last minute.
Yeah. So again, same thing going back to the one of the giant arena show up in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
With that many people, you have to pick material that's going to work on camera and on that stage that will play for that audience. You can't be doing Hot Rod.
Yeah.
Well, you could.
Right, you could.
Once.
Let's not do it. Hey, guys, let's just make a decision. We're not going to do that.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you want to find me, thechipperexperience.com or chipperlowell.com.
Yep.
My last name is Lowell.
Awesome.
Both anything actually will get you to the main website.
Okay.
I have other secret websites, but that's the main one that will give tour dates and then breaks off from there for either corporate or theater or special engagements and things like that.
So cool. If you guys are listening right now, click on the cool picture we've made of Chipper there, and it will flip around, and I'll put links to all of those sites so you can go and follow him and see.
And I want to commend you, dude. Again, your podcast is so fun, and it's a weird thing because I feel like it's such a niche that maybe this is only being heard by a small group as opposed to something that's more global, in scale. But at the same time, this is really a podcast that should be listened to by anyone that's doing live performing.
Yeah.
Because there are so many people involved in entertainment, corporate events, variety shows, theater, casinos, cruise ships, whether you book it, whether you're, someone that performs. There's so much fun information, and I got a kick out of listening to a lot of your previous podcasts over the last couple of months.
Oh, thanks, Chipper, and thank you for sharing all this. Most guys would package this and sell it, and you've come here on this free podcast.
Oh, crap. Well, you know what? I truly, it sounds very corny and cliche, but the whole thing of pay it forward.
Yeah.
I had people when I was starting in the business that taught me so much, and they didn't need to.
Yeah.
They did not have to.
Yep.
And they taught me amazing things. And it's that thing of when I see people coming along that really are honest and earnest about this being a career.
Yep.
And I can see the spark where I'm going, oh my God, they're going to be amazing.
Oh yeah, totally.
I absolutely would love to be able to help them along and give them advice and things. And like I said, for fun, if I'm not touring and things like that, I do consult and write for other people. It tends to be more of an approach in teaching them the materials and tools they can use to continue writing long after I've written for them.
Yeah.
And that's been fun. And then I've been doing these workshops, which I think maybe in another year or 3, I will start doing them on a more formal basis.
Oh, so cool.
But I
was so bummed. I was out of town when you did the one at the castle recently. I was dying that I wasn't there.
I've done the one at the castle. We did one for David Sandy's amazing workshop.
Yep.
Which was 4 days of stuff. And during that time, on one day, I did 4 workshops back to back. And I thought I would be tired.
Yeah.
But it's part lecture.
Yep.
And then it's literally people bringing their material that they're working on up on stage. They do their routines, and then I literally deconstruct their entire routine to show them everything they missed.
Wow.
In regards to where the comedy could have been mined from.
Wow.
And it's been really fulfilling because for me, that's coming from my background as a director and as a writer. And these people, the beauty of it, these are people that are working professionals that then go out and then they email me and they say, oh my God, this routine just lit up now and I'm discovering all this other stuff, which is fun for me. You know, I love that.
Cool. Yeah, it's so fun to see the progression of a piece that starts off as an idea and then just turns into something special.
Yeah, there's some right now that have been sitting on the back burner only because of the technical side. Which has been interesting.
Yeah.
You know, where I'm like, I don't know how I know that's what I want.
Right.
But technically I don't know if I can get to that. And I don't even have the time now to run around to my technical people to say, is this stupid? Or can this be
a thing?
Doable?
Yeah.
Because, you know, and I'll tell you about it off the air.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Because it's a really cool idea.
Awesome. Well, guys, go check out Chipper. Check out those show links. Thank you so much, man.
Taylor, thank you so much.
So freaking awesome. And I will be listening to this in slow motion so that I can hear all the minute
and again, I just want
wisdom.
to apologize for not being funny at all during this. Because it's always that thing of like, God, you know, that guy's not very funny when he's away from the stage. But I really wanted to like, you know,
this is helpful. This is really
speak
good
the truth.
I love it. I love it.
And
we're at, oh my gosh. Okay, wait a minute. Hold on.
Oh no.
We're at 2:19 and 40 seconds
crazy.
on the second. We did 1:45. We're almost at 4 hours worth of content.
That's sick.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. Now I'm embarrassed by it.
No, it's amazing. I think we've made a new record.
Oh, God.
And I still have so many things I could ask you about. Yeah. But we'll do that off air.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed Blowhard, Chipper Lowell, as he continues on with his.
Oh, please. You're amazing. I'm going to turn this off. We can keep talking.
Okay.